what he told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a recent phone call, how Netanyahu is responding in public. Republicans are faring well in California's primary, and for the first time in years, a GOP candidate could be on the November ballot for governor. Plus, Los Angeles will have a Republican in its mayoral race. The Justice Department is launching a nearly $300 million initiative aimed at reducing crime and restoring law and order in America's cities. The program will fund everything from police technology and staffing to mental health services and crime prevention efforts. Ukraine today striking Russia's second largest city, St. Petersburg. This as Russia is holding a major economic forum in the city. How Moscow is responding. A tense hostage standoff in California comes to an end. Authorities say a suspect who barricaded himself inside a bank building with multiple hostages was shot and killed after an hours-long confrontation. A new nationwide campaign is targeting ultra-processed foods. Why health advocates say warning labels, advertising limits, and stricter oversight could be needed as Americans get more than half of their calories from these products.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Results are in from several primary races across 6 states. Votes are still being tallied in California, but so far Republicans are faring well in the blue state. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the report.
Right, so results are still pouring in, ballots are still being counted, and what you're seeing now is the Republican and one Democrat are actually leading, meaning that we could see a Republican and a Democrat on the general election ballot in November. The Democrat is former Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra, and the Republican is British-American TV host Steve Hilton. Both of them gave optimistic speeches last night when they noticed that they were taking the lead in this race. Let's first listen to the Democrat leading candidate, Becerra.
One step closer to the son of those hard-working immigrants, Maria and Manuel Becerra, becoming the next governor of the great state of California.
Now, this is a notable moment for Republicans because if the current results do hold, then Hilton is the Republican. He will be on the ballot in November, meaning that Californians will have a chance to choose whether or not they want to keep their current Democrat leadership in the governor's office or replace that Democrat leadership with a Republican, which hasn't happened since 2011, Steph. So it's been 15 years since there was a Republican governor of the state of California. Hilton, though, expressing optimism last night. Listen to what he had to say.
It looks very much as if Californians really will have the chance to vote for change in November and take our state in a new direction, a fresh start for our state, which is long overdue.
Now, these results might not be finalized until a few days from now, up to even a week from now for the governor's race. But we do know in Los Angeles, the race for city mayor already has the 2 leading candidates that are decided for November. You have the current Democrat Mayor Karen Bass, and she'll be facing off with Republican Spencer Pratt. Pratt last night already making an offering to Democrat voters.
I think the next 5 months I'm going to have time to build out this team to show everybody the level of Democratic supporters that I have behind me, the heavy hitters that are in this room that are all behind me. And I think this idea that I don't represent Democrats and Republicans and independents, anyone that's just a Los Angeles citizen that wants basic quality of life, I'll be able to show that in 5 months.
We have led a grassroots campaign because we want to bring change to our city, and that's what we've been doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Several Republican lawmakers this morning told me that the results so far in California are showing good signs for the Republican Party, especially when you consider the fact that certain districts that were just redrawn to favor Democrats, in those districts, Republicans are actually faring quite well. I'm thinking of the 6th district with Congressman Kevin Kiley, who actually switched his party to become an independent to try to hold on to that seat. And then you have the 48th district with a similar scenario. Democrats redrew that district to try to make it more favorable to the left. But Republicans in both of those districts are faring well. Here's what those Republican lawmakers told me about this.
One seat where you have the independent Republican and the Republican were the top 2 at the time. That may change as we get more ballots in, but that was a seat that was designed to be a Democrat seat, and it looks like the Republicans are ahead.
In the prior redistricting, California squeezed about all the blood they could out of that tournament. They tried to manipulate those districts. They were on the edge on several of those races before, and really didn't address the competitiveness.
I'm elated to see it, that there are some good thinking, smart Californians that have decided not to just pack their bags and leave the state, but to stick around and see if they can get some better leadership.
And after a winning streak of President Trump's endorsed candidates, one lost yesterday in Iowa. Businessman Zach Lunn edged out victory over Trump-backed Randy Feenstra. He will face Democrat Bob Sand, who ran unopposed in his primary. There's also 2 Senate seats, one in Iowa, one in Montana, where Democrats chose candidates to take on the task of trying to flip red seats blue. In Iowa, Democrat State Representative Josh Turek will take on Republican Ashley Hinson to fill Senator Joni Ernst's seat. In Montana, Democrat Alani Bankhead was chosen with the same task of trying to flip a Republican-held seat. Republican Steve Hilton and Democrat Javier Becerra are holding on to early leads in the California governor's primary. The top 2 finishers in this race will advance to the November 3rd general election. NTD's Christina Corona spoke with Steve Hilton supporters in Huntington Beach as results came in last night.
Supporters of Steve Hilton gathered in the ballroom at the Hilton Hotel in Huntington Beach, hoping to see his message resonate with California voters. Before the event, Hilton spoke with reporters, saying he felt optimistic about the campaign.
I'm feeling great. It's my first time. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel, but I'm telling you right now that I feel very excited about this, about the prospects of change. I love California so much. There's nowhere better than California. We all know that, those of us who live here. But we can all see that it's just not delivering the promise that for so long California represented the best place anywhere in the world.
Hilton said his campaign focused on issues such as affordability, energy costs, and public safety.
Working people in California paying the highest gas prices in the country. That's insane when we have abundant oil reserves right here in California. As long as we are using oil and gas in California, let's use California oil and gas. That's the plan. And that way, we can get our gas prices down. $3 gas, that's the plan. Electric bills, the highest in the country, double the national average. We can have a sensible energy policy, cut your electric bills in half. This is the kind of thing that we need to make our state Cal-affordable.
Many supporters share why they support Hilton and which of his policies they like most.
I support Steve Hilton because he wants to change California. We have nothing but homeless, drug addicts, everything on the street, and he truly wants to be an all-American and make a difference for our state.
There's a lot of very, very unsafe things going on in California that just isn't right for people. And we need to get a lot of these things fixed. And that's one of the things I like about Steve. He will just bring a lot of common sense things to California.
His policies. Steve Hilton is all about how we're going to change California exactly from A, B, and C, how we're going to do it. He's not a word salad. He's the man that's going to get the job done here in CA, and I'm so ready for that.
The Associated Press reported early this morning that Republican Steve Hilton was leading the field. The top 2 finishers in the primary will face off in November.
Oh my God, it's fantastic to see Steve performing so well. And it's absolutely amazing.
Hilton supporters say they are hopeful that voters embraced his message for California. Ballot counting is expected to continue in the coming days. Reporting from the city of Huntington Beach, Christina Corona, NTD News.
As California's ballots are being counted, NTD's David Lamb gives us reactions from a watch party. He also spoke with California State Assembly candidates who are moving past the primaries in their own districts.
This year is a year of change, and people were ecstatic when the results came out.
I think it looks fantastic. I think it shows that Californians are ready for a change. They're voting for a change. 67% of all Californians want change in California. They realize we're going in the wrong direction.
I expect it. I was not surprised to see that Steve Hilton was taking first, because he's prepared and ready to be our next governor.
I'm super excited, and after watching the result, I'm just energized. So we're going to be working very, very hard for the next 5 months.
Now, the watch party was held in San Jose at the Palermo Italian restaurant, and Carol Peffley is a Republican running for California State Assembly. Here's what she had to say.
We need 7 more Republicans to win 7 assembly seats, and we can begin to block the bills that they're passing that are not good for Californians.
To not just offering, not just point out what's going on with our state, but offer solutions to fix the state of California.
Win or lose, this is going to be a celebration of all of our efforts. I think a lot of success is measured on votes, but I also measure it based on everyone's efforts, how we brought people together, the volunteers. We've all become family and friends at this point.
We were told that they were expecting about 40 people, but eventually 80 people came through. As people kept coming, they had to bring out extra chairs. Now, this is what some supporters are saying.
Because we're losing California to taxation and overburden of regulations, etc. It's horrible, you know.
Yeah. I think there needs to be a statewide audit and see where our tax dollars are going and how they're being spent, and if they're being spent wisely. I don't think they are, and I don't believe Steve believes it either.
I want to also propose an idea to have additional training for security guards to hold legal citizens' arrests until the police arrive. We need to set the example that crime is not okay here, and we've gotten a little too lax on that. So I want to set the example again here.
I want them to tackle fraud. There is a lot of fraud in California. We're finding out that there's a lot of fraud all throughout the United States. And I think this year we will see a huge shift in what happens to this state.
In San Jose, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
New York Democrats are entering the national redistricting battle, moving to give state lawmakers more power over congressional maps. A proposed constitutional amendment would allow lawmakers to draw district lines if the state's independent commission deadlocks. They would also be able to approve maps with a simple majority and redraw districts between census years. The proposal would also remove the current constitutional ban on maps favoring parties or candidates. Supporters say the plan is a response to Republican redistricting efforts nationwide. Republicans call it an attempt to override voters' will. Any constitutional amendment would need to pass the legislature twice and then win approval from voters, but could not affect maps before 2028. And the Supreme Court has allowed Alabama to use a Republican-backed congressional map in the upcoming midterm elections. The 6-3 decision stays a lower court ruling blocking the plan. The map would eliminate a court-drawn second majority black district and could give Republicans a stronger advantage in the state's congressional delegation. The lower court had ruled the previous map discriminated against black voters, but the Supreme Court said Alabama showed a strong case of potential harm and that the public interest favored allowing the map to proceed for now. 3 liberal justices dissented, saying the decision disregards democratic values and the rule of law. The ruling clears the way for Alabama to proceed under its 2023 legislative map in this election cycle. The Justice Department unveils a new $300 million initiative to help cities combat crime, improve public safety, and strengthen law enforcement efforts. We have more news after this break. Don't go away.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Gyeonggi Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural, organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Puretang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Puretang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic, so I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
The Justice Department has announced an initiative to fight crime in American cities. The DOJ saying it will provide $300 million in grants. According to the department, the Model Cities initiative is the next step in the Trump administration's Make America Safe Again agenda. The DOJ says the funding will go to cities that are serious about reducing violent crime, restoring law and order, and modernizing public safety infrastructure. In announcing the initiative, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said, quote, "The Model Cities initiative will supercharge our law enforcement partners and restore the rule of law to America's neighborhoods, towns, and cities." Blanche added, quote, "Our message is clear. We will help those who help us make America safe again." 2 to 4 cities with a population of 100,000 or more are eligible. President Trump says he believes Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could become the permanent head of the Justice Department. The president praised Blanche as a very talented guy and said he is doing a very good job at the DOJ. President Trump was asked directly whether Blanche would be the next Attorney General. He responded, quote, "I think he will." President Trump also said he is satisfied with the pace of work at the Justice Department. He also praised Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, calling him very good. He said he has not ruled him out for the Attorney General role, noting there are a lot of great people in the Republican Party. President Trump is also weighing in on the 2028 presidential election. He says Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio would be very hard to beat if they ran together. The president says he has watched them together and they get along great. Both Vance and Rubio are seen as potential contenders for the 2028 Republican nomination, though neither has formally entered the race and both have downplayed talks of a run. Rubio's recent appearances at the White House briefings have drawn attention from both Republicans and some Democrats, with some praising his performance. And now to talk about the California governor primary election results, joining us now is political commentator Alicia Krause, and we have former Democratic candidate for governor of Oregon and CEO of the Hispanic Construction Council, George Carrillo. So good afternoon to you both. Alicia, let me start with you, if I may here. And you correct me if I'm saying your name incorrectly, please do.
So that's okay. People have been getting it wrong for 40 years.
I'm sorry if I got it wrong. So we were playing packages earlier, reports, where our correspondents are talking to voters in California, saying they want change. And we heard Steve Hilton saying that he's optimistic about the prospects of change. So, I mean, it's still too early to say, but if he wins, how do you feel? Is there going to be change in California with Hilton?
I actually think that he has a strong chance here because, to his points, Democratic control has had a stronghold on this state for more than 20 years. And since Arnold Schwarzenegger ran as a very moderate, I would argue, to the left Republican 20 years ago, Steve Hilton is our greatest chance that we've had to have a Republican win statewide office. But I think that it is doable for him because he isn't mini MAGA as much as the Democrats in Bucara would like to make him that way. He has plans and has been meeting with voters from all sides of the aisle and all across the state. We have such a unique demographic here. I mean, you have small business owners, you have multi-generational immigrant families, you have retired and active duty military, you have people in tech and aerospace, in agriculture, in all different oil and gas and fracking. It's a very broad electorate that I think might be registered blue, but is statistically moderately blue. And we saw this in a lot of down ballot races last night, where the Democratic Socialists of America, and I would argue borderline communists, were not voted for by most of the Democratic voters in this state. So I think it's an uphill battle for him, but I think he has a strong chance. And this is where get out the vote effort and the messaging really does matter.
So, George, what do you think? 60% of the vote are in, around there, 60% of the vote being counted. Hilton at around 27%, Becerra at 25%. What do you make of the situation?
Well, I think the race is very interesting because one thing we have to recognize is that still based off of the results that we see right now, the voter count is diluted on the Democrat side because of the fact that there were so many candidates and the Republicans really got behind Hilton. And so when you look at it, it's still, 2/3 of voters from yesterday voted for Becerra. So I think that this is going to be an interesting race. I think, putting party lines aside, right now, Californians are faced with some economic crisis. Affordability is very high right now. Insurance premiums for homeowners are through the roof since the wildfires. Gas prices, and people are definitely leaving the state, which is affecting their general fund. So I think right now, what it's going to be most important about, regardless of whether you're on the right or the left, is what can Californians continue to afford.
So, Eilish, what do you think? Can you continue on that? What do you think Californians want right now out of this election?
I think actually, if you look at the numbers from last night, you saw that there was not a lot of enthusiasm. Yes, Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1 in the state, but no party preference, and independent voters are a pretty big chunk of the electorate. And they also kind of sat on their hands and weren't interested. So it really is about engaging those voters that have long looked at the jungle primary that has statistically always given them two top Democrats that are maybe kind of crazy and not so crazy as options. They feel disenfranchised and they feel disinterested in getting involved. But this time with Steve, and I would argue down ballot here in Los Angeles where I live, Pratt on the ticket will hopefully engage them to get out and vote. I think a lot of those NPPs and independents are not solidly on the left like the DNC has assumed they are for a very long time.
So, George, there's a lot of mail-in ballots that are not counted. Most Californians vote by mail. Do you think, how much do you think the margins might move because of that?
I think the margins will move a little bit. I think that in the end, I think Becerra will probably come out a little bit ahead when we think about percentage. But again, it's looking at the total vote count and what this race is going to look like in November with a Republican and a Democrat. Do I think that Becerra is going to lose California? I don't know, to be quite honest with you. I think it's really for both candidates to figure out how to communicate. How are they going to manage that executive office? What is going to be the difference between the last 8 years and the next 4 years? How are they going to effectively tackle on the housing crisis that they're currently faced with? How they're going to start removing people from homelessness into shelter, dealing with behavioral health. They have a major crisis with addiction right now, and crime rates are, going up. So these are the real questions that I think that Californians are really talking about at the dinner table. And this is the messaging that both candidates are going to have to figure out. Do they have a solid plan to effectively make those changes instead of just having a different plan from what they're currently having right now?
Okay, so Elisha,
And to
you heard.
piggyback on that, I think,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
just really quick to piggyback on that though, Becerra has a horrific record of enforcing failed policies, of not enforcing laws that get homeless people who genuinely need help off of the streets, of not supporting the rule of law and order, of not tamping down on crime. Heck, the man lost tens of thousands of innocent migrant children when he was under the Biden administration. He likes to say that he's an accountant, but he's a failed one that needs to be audited. And I think that Steve Hilton can do that.
So, George, do you think you talked about the kitchen table issues? Do you think if Becerra is elected as governor, that voters will get what they want?
I think it's going to really depend on what the definition of what it is that they want. I think if Californians want prices to come down, if they want to see that there's more behavioral health providers in the state helping with drug addiction and lowering crime rates, I think it's going to be up to Becerra to really figure out what does that executive plan look like? How does he balance the budget and put that priority and not keep taxing Californians? The one thing I will say, where I do not side with my party on is just constantly increasing taxes. I think for the executive branch, we need to become more responsible and smarter with the money that we're allocated with and really focus on the real issues and really coming down to the root cause, especially when you think about the billions of dollars that California has spent on behavioral health, and the problem still continues to rise. And so that's telling me that the executive branch isn't appropriately funding certain programs accordingly, and raising taxes isn't the answer. We need to really come down to what is the root cause. And for me, the root cause when we talk about behavioral health in the state of California and everywhere else is that we're not investing enough in education. We're not putting enough money behind creating more mental health providers, that we're not guiding our children to a better pathway when we talk about drug addiction. There's a lot of these things that I think that really need to be um, planned out and properly implemented.
So,
But I still think Californians on the Republican side, they're not necessarily going to get a better result when we talk about that because the lack of experience from Hilton with dealing these real economical issues.
okay, that's a perfect setup for you, Elisha. Can you talk about Hilton?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the man has actually worked in politics in the past as a very successful consultant, and he's been the founder of multiple companies. He's provided more jobs and opportunity out of poverty than Becerra or the Democrats ever have. I will agree with my counterpart, though, that in fact, Democrats have consistently failed, and they keep saying it's the millionaires and the billionaires and big tech's fault that the state, needs more money and we need more money from those types of people. Almost 40% of California voters make under $100,000 a year. They don't really look and are blaming, Elon Musk for the homeless person that's shooting up outside of their kid's school. They blame the people that are currently in power. And I think that once again, they need to get back to basic law and order. And the people who are consistently running on the Democratic side have either run and failed or run and governed, and they do not govern well. And it will be very easy for Steve Hilton to say, here's my plan, here's the data, here's what I've done, and here's what I can do for you.
So, Elisha, let me ask you one more thing. I think you would agree with me if I said voters are looking for something different from what Newsom has done during his tenure. Do you think if Becerra is elected, he wins the election, do you think he'll offer something different, or do you think he'll be sort of an extension of Newsom?
I mean, he's been openly asked by left-leaning and mainstream media outlets, hey, what would you do differently than Gavin Newsom? And he has no answer, because the thing is Javier Becerra will continue the horrible and failed policies of Gavin Newsom, and probably even arguably go more to the left than Gavin Newsom did, because Newsom's been trying to quote, slightly moderate because he wants to run for president in 2028. Becerra has been asked this time and time again, and he has failed to answer any area in which he would separate any future policies that he would incorporate as governor to what Gavin Newsom has done. And that should be clipped and pulled and made a 30-second ad spot that is spread far and wide.
So, George, what is your opinion on this? Is Becerra too similar to Newsom?
No, I don't think so. I think he has his own priorities and definitely has a different approach of tackling the problems. One thing that I warn, viewers when we're talking about Democrats and Republicans, the problem is very complex when we talk about the economy, which is one of the largest economies in the world, which is California, and all of the problems that it faces. From my personal experience of being a sheriff deputy and patrolling, those streets, it is incredibly difficult. Crime is all connected. And when we think about behavioral health and our education system, that's all connected. You have to have the right plan and you have to have the right amount of money being distributed equitably across the state. But what I warn viewers on is that, the Republican option here, Republicans typically slash those types of programs. We don't need slashing of those programs. We just need a better implementation of those programs. And so I do agree that we don't need to constantly raise taxes, but we also don't need to be slashing and making the government so small that we're not necessarily being effective and that we're really not helping
It's the
people that
Democrats
really
that have
truly
been
need the help.
slashing,
And
though,
we're
legitimate
bringing
funding
down
for law
the,
enforcement, for fire prevention. It's the Democrats that have been saying, hey, we need increased costs for homeless, and we're spending over
no, I
$150,000
disagree with that.
per unit
I think
for those
with law
people. I think that
enforcement,
you can approach
what
this in an
happens is
empathetic and
no,
direct
All right.
way,
no,
but
Let's
it's not
talk
the
one at
sole
a time.
problem in this state.
I'm having a hard time hearing what each of you are saying. Let's talk one at a time. I think, George,
no,
you were
it's not
speaking
Democrats
initially.
that are slashing. Yeah, it's not that Democrats are slashing, budgets towards law enforcement. It's the fact that the reality is that law enforcement, from my personal experience, we can't deal with every single major crisis that's happening in someone's home or within the community. And so being able to bring mental health providers and us being able to distribute some of that budget to having other people help us is the appropriate way of using our taxpayer money. So it's
Okay.
not that we're slashing budgets and we're trying to take away from police and enforcement. It's the fact that we have to look at policing in a different way.
Okay, Alicia, your point.
I think that when we've looked at policing in a different way, it fails the least of these in our society, including those who have been abandoned on the streets or the families that they've left behind.
All right, Alicia, I wanted to get your thoughts on this as well, because President Trump has endorsed Hilton, right? We had guests saying yesterday, a Democratic guest saying yesterday, that Republicans have shot themselves in the foot because of this. Where do you stand?
I think that, I guess when I saw the endorsement, it didn't surprise me. The president and Steve have been friendly for a very long time. And I know that there are people within the administration that were advocating for that. I think that President Trump thought that that would hopefully help Steve in the primary and push Chad Bianco out. It clearly did not. But Steve is still the front runner. And I think that he's going to pull out on top. I think as the later counts come in, we might see Steyer bump a little bit. We'll definitely see Becerra bump a little bit, but I think we're going to see Steve bump as well, and he'll maintain in that top two and go on to November. Listen, the people, though, that are like doom and gloom about the Trump nomination, the guy was a Fox News host for a very long time. There's conservative policies that he has publicly advocated for and is not running away from because he knows that they are policies to make government smaller, to get them out of the way, to help people protect and provide for their families here in the state that are not supposed to be just conservative principles. They should be applied to everybody, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, no matter what country they've come from, or no matter what their socioeconomic status is.
Okay, just one more question for each of you. And George, let me ask you first. Do you think there's voter dissatisfaction right now with the state's Democratic establishment? Or is there dissatisfaction with a specific person, a specific leader? Which one do you think it is?
Well, I think the Democratic Party right now still continues to struggle with its leadership and the image that we have portrayed. And so right now, the Democratic Party is fragmented, and you can see that from the voter count, what we saw yesterday in California. So it is time for the Democratic Party to be able to get on the same page and understand that, the left, super left, and the super right are not where the majority of voters are at. We're more moderate, we're more in the middle. And so I think that that's where we have to really focus on and really go back on our principles as Democrats and what we believe and what the country actually needs from us and what the state of California needs, which is we really need to get the economy under control. We need to start driving down prices, but we also need to be able to work together with the federal government. You know, the increase in gas prices and everything that's happening right now is through the Trump administration. And that's something that we're trying to manage here at a local level. And it's things that, you know, with such, you know, distrust and, you know, there's really no unity in the country right now. We're really polarized in our politics, and that is what's hurting all of us.
Okay, Alicia, final thoughts.
Final thoughts are that was definitely a load of crap and not statistically or factually true. Gas prices and the cost of living and the inability for people to be able to afford a home or send their kid to a decent public school here in the state of California have nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with the over 25-year reign of the Democratic supermajority in Sacramento.
All right, let's leave it there for today. I'm sure more can be said, but it's been a good conversation. Thank you so much to the both of you.
Thank you so much.
Ukraine launches a major drone attack on St. Petersburg as Russia hosts a high-profile economic forum. Moscow is now vowing retaliation. We have more news after this quick break. Stay with us.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
President Trump says Iran has agreed to no nuclear weapons as he weighs two options on what to do with the regime. It comes as he urges the Israeli leader to scale back escalations in Lebanon. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent, Iris Tao. So Iris, good afternoon to you. Can you tell us what is the latest?
Good afternoon to you as well, Don. So President Trump, in a new interview with New York Post, is saying that Iran has agreed to not obtain a nuclear weapon, which has been, of course, a major bone of contention between Washington and Tehran in recent negotiations. The president also saying that the new supreme leader of Iran has been involved in talks with the U.S., adding that he would like to meet him only if things work out, of course, saying that he's been mulling a final determination on Iran. Watch.
Now I have to make a determination. Do we sign a deal or we do it the other way? And the other way is not nice.
What will the other way achieve, though?
Certainty. It would be over. There wouldn't be any. There wouldn't be any talking. There wouldn't be any delays. There wouldn't be. But I'd rather do it the nice way, from a humanitarian standpoint.
And Secretary of State Marco Rubio testifying before Congress this week. It says that Iran has now agreed to negotiate aspects of its nuclear program that it had refused to discuss even a month ago. He testifying again today, saying that the U.S. has achieved victory in its operation against Iran. Let's take a look.
We defined victory as destroying their defense industrial base, significantly reducing the number of missile launchers that they possess, significantly reducing their stockpile of drones. And we achieved all of those, in addition to destroying what they had left of an air force and wiping out their entire conventional navy. Those are all gone. So I consider that victory, and we did too, and that was the purpose of Epic Fury.
And while negotiations continue, the U.S. and Iran are trading fire. Central Command saying that Iran has been launching missiles towards its regional neighbors, though none of that actually hit its intended targets. The U.S. also has been launching self-defensive strikes against Iranian targets and also announcing overnight that they have struck an oil tanker heading toward an Iranian port as a U.S. naval blockade against Iranian ports remains in full effect. It all comes, though, as Israel and Hezbollah, based in Lebanon, are also trading strikes. And President Trump, in the new interview, did not deny the report that he had a tense phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which he told him to scale back plans to escalate strikes in Beirut. Watch.
I wouldn't say angry. I was a little bit perturbed at his constantly fighting with Lebanon. You know, at some point I said, Bibi, we got to stop this. We got to stop it. But I have a very good relationship. We've done well together.
And President Trump's intervention comes after reports that Iran was threatening to pull out of peace talks with the U.S. in protest of Israeli strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon. And President Trump making clear that U.S. talks with Iran have never paused. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, also responding in public through a CNBC interview today, is saying that while he and President Trump might have tactical disagreements over the war, they agree on many things. Watch.
President confirmed that he said you're effing crazy. How did you react to that? What really happened in that call?
So we have common goals. Sometimes we have, as in the best of families, you have these tactical disagreements. We always find a way to work them out, and we do so as great friends. We can disagree in the morning, and by the afternoon we have common action.
And on today, negotiators from both Israel and Lebanon are meeting at the State Department again in Washington for a second day. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that he's hopeful that this round of talks could yield a result in which Lebanon could be secured from Hezbollah, which is a terrorist group backed by Iran and has been attacking Israel. On another note, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announcing that President Trump will be attending the NATO summit in Turkey set for next month. And that will be highly watched, as we know that President Trump has been repeatedly criticizing NATO in recent months over its lack of willingness to help the U.S. efforts in securing the Strait of Hormuz. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that it will be the most important meeting in NATO history, as President Trump will be there to clear up and fix things. Don.
Okay, Iris, thank you for the report. Arrested for supplying U.S. technology to Iran, a U.S.-Iranian dual national has been charged with violating U.S. sanctions against the Iranian regime. Jamshid Gomi is the CEO of an Iran-based tech company living in California. The Justice Department today announcing that he sold U.S.-origin computer networking technology to Iran. It says his customers include the Iranian regime's nuclear and military establishments, along with other sanctioned entities. The DOJ says Gomi's operation spanned over a decade since 2011 and used the UAE as an intermediary. His company had annual sales exceeding $10 million and reached hundreds of customers. The DOJ commenting on Gomi's arrest, quote, "Our nation's laws prohibiting doing business with one of the world's largest state sponsors of terrorism must be enforced and obeyed." If convicted, Gomi would face up to 20 years in prison. His first court appearance is this afternoon. Ukraine today striking Russia's second largest city, St. Petersburg. This as Russia is holding a major economic forum in the city. Moscow is already vowing retaliation. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pasdar has the war update.
New footage shows smoke rising into the air and explosions ringing out in Russia's St. Petersburg. Ukraine struck an oil terminal, a naval base, and another military facility in the nation's second largest city. The attacks coming just hours before Russian President Vladimir Putin kicked off an economic forum, an apparent Ukrainian attempt to embarrass the Russian president. It's the fifth time the annual St. Petersburg International Economic Forum is taking place during the Ukraine war. Ukraine confirmed the attacks, releasing video footage of the drone strikes on multiple targets. President Vladimir Zelensky saying such deep strikes allow Ukraine to negotiate with Russia on equal terms.
Through our mid-range and deep strikes, Russia is facing clear fuel shortages. So, through this pressure, we are making Russia choose between diplomacy and further losses.
Zelensky added that he's ready for direct peace talks with Putin. Russia, meanwhile, vowing retaliation.
I'd like to remind you of the statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which said that our responses will be systematic in nature, and indeed, they already are.
The spokesman added that Russia will make sure to prevent such Ukrainian attacks in the future. Arian Pasdar, NTD News.
A suspect is dead after taking hostages in California. The Bakersfield Police Department saying the standoff ended at around about 12 hours after police were called to the building. The FBI identified the individual as Anthony Scott Searle Harris.
He was a 41-year-old white male who served in the U.S. Army from 2006 to 2007. However, he was dishonorably discharged for going AWOL. That's absent without leave. He was no stranger to law enforcement and has a criminal history of using weapons to commit violent offenses. In 2014, he was charged with sex acts with a child under 14. He's a registered sex offender.
FBI personnel shot and killed Harris. The standoff in downtown Bakersfield began yesterday afternoon when officers responded to a bomb threat at the Chase Bank building. Bakersfield police said Harris barricaded himself inside with several people. Officers established a perimeter around the area and warned the public to stay away. The police department's crisis negotiation team had been in contact with Harris by phone. 2 hostages were released after negotiations with authorities. Police said all the hostages were unharmed. CBS News has fired longtime 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley following a clash with new leadership at the network. Pelley was terminated effective immediately after a tense confrontation with newly appointed executive producer Nick Bilton and editor-in-chief Barry Weiss. In a dismissal letter obtained by the Epoch Times, Bilton accused Pelley of hostility, misconduct, and disrupting a staff meeting. Bilton wrote that Pelley acted, quote, with remarkable incivility and contempt. Bilton added that while he welcomes a diversity of viewpoints and respectful debate among the team, this was nothing of the sort. In a statement shared with media outlets, Pelley said the leadership of 60 Minutes is, in his own words, no longer recognizable. The firing comes amid a broad shakeup at CBS News and 60 Minutes. A new management push led to changes to the long-running news program. Pelley joined CBS News in 1989 and has served as a 60 Minutes correspondent since 2004. 2 scientists at a government laboratory are facing federal charges after authorities say they smuggled vials containing deactivated Mpox virus into the country from Africa. The pair were both affiliated with the National Institutes of Health. They were stopped at Detroit Metro Airport after returning from the Republic of Congo. Federal investigators say the pair failed to declare the materials and allegedly lied to customs officers about what's inside their luggage. The FBI saying agents later discovered more than 100 vials, including 18 confirmed to contain Mpox. The virus samples were deactivated, but Health and Human Services warned that concealing biological materials at the border is a breach of public trust and could put the public at risk. The 2 researchers are expected to appear in federal court in Montana today. A new campaign called Fed Up is taking on ultra-processed foods. The growing push for warning labels and tougher regulations as concerns mount over health risks. More news after this break. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did.
Please call or go online to helpheart.org. Become a monthly donor, and for a limited time only, your first month's gift will be matched.
Thank you.
America, homeless young people are cold, abused, in danger. Covenant House is helping young people with nowhere else to turn. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month. You'll help provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the love you're showing a young person this holiday season. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org, and your first month's gift will be matched.
Researchers and health advocates are launching a new campaign aimed at reducing Americans' reliance on ultra-processed foods. The effort, called Fed Up, will provide consumers with information about highly processed products and tools to advocate for changes in schools and government policy. It comes as a new American Journal of Public Health survey finds strong bipartisan support for more oversight. That includes a push for warning labels on ultra-processed foods, restrictions on advertising to children, and safety testing for food additives. Supporters of the campaign cite studies linked to ultra-processed foods to high rates of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and dementia. Food industry groups maintain their products meet federal safety standards and say consumers should have access to a wide range of food choices. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says more than half of American adults get more of their calories from ultra-processed foods. For children, that number is even higher, with about 6 in 10 getting the majority of their calories from those food choices. A French art museum is not amused that someone stole a banana from its famous exhibit. Maurizio Catalan's work, entitled "Comedian," requires a fresh banana to be duct-taped to the wall periodically. Several times since it was unveiled in Florida back in 2019, people have ripped the banana off the wall and eaten it. In 2024, Chinese collector Justin Sun did the same thing after paying more than $6 million for the work. But the museum in Metz is unhappy enough about the latest incident to file a legal complaint. It also issued a statement assuring visitors the perishable component of the work has been replaced, or put another way, a new banana was taped to the wall. State Republicans unveiled a revised reconciliation bill that strips up to $1 billion from the White House ballroom. More news after this break. Stay tuned.
This
is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
I've devoted my life to combining cutting-edge science with biblical wisdom, and I believe Healing Leaves Tea is the Bible's best-kept health secret. In Revelation 22, the Bible reveals the tree of life and declares the leaves are for the healing of the nations. Amazingly, science confirms what Scripture declares. These leaves support digestion and immunity, maintain healthy inflammation, and boost energy. So instead of another supplement, I created Healing Leaves Tea. It's caffeine-free, convenient, and delicious, hot or cold. Thousands are making Healing Leaves Tea part of their daily wellness routine, and now you can too.
Call the number on your screen for this exclusive TV deal and save 30% on your preferred customer order with free shipping and risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. As a bonus, we'll include the Beginner's Guide to Essential Oils, a $16.99 value free. Call the number on your screen to learn more right now.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump saying Iran's agreed to no nuclear weapon. That's as the president weighs resuming strikes on the regime amid ongoing negotiations. Republicans are faring well in California's primary, and for the first time in years, a GOP candidate could be on the November ballot for governor. Plus, Los Angeles will have a Republican in its mayoral race. The Justice Department is launching a nearly $300 million initiative aimed at reducing crime and restoring law and order in America's cities. The program will fund everything from police technology and staffing to mental health services and crime prevention efforts. Senate Republicans unveiled a revised conciliation bill that strips up to $1 billion from the White House ballroom. A suspect is dead after taking hostages in California. The Bakersville Police Department saying the standoff ended about 12 hours after police were called to the building. Ukraine today striking Russia's second largest city, St. Petersburg. This as Russia is holding a major economic forum in the city. How Moscow is responding. The Knicks are in the NBA Finals as New York City prepares to watch Game 1. Apparel stores are having record sales.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. Results are in from several primary races across 6 states. Votes are still being tallied in California, but so far Republicans are faring well in the blue state. NTD's Melina Weiskup has more.
Right, so results are still pouring in, ballots are still being counted, and what you're seeing now is the Republican and one Democrat are actually leading, meaning that we could see a Republican and a Democrat on the general election ballot in November. The Democrat is former Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra, and the Republican is British-American TV host Steve Hilton. Both of them gave optimistic speeches last night when they noticed that they were taking the lead in this race. Let's first listen to the Democrat leading candidate Becerra.
One step closer to the son of those hard-working immigrants, Maria and Manuel Becerra, becoming the next governor of the great state of California.
Now, this is a notable moment for Republicans because if the current results do hold, then Hilton is the Republican. He will be on the ballot in November, meaning that Californians will have a chance to choose whether or not they want to keep their current Democrat leadership in the governor's office or replace that Democrat leadership with a Republican, which hasn't happened since 2011, Steph. So it's been 15 years since there was a Republican governor of the state of California. Hilton, though, expressing optimism last night. Listen to what he had to say.
It looks very much as if Californians really will have the chance to vote for change in November and take our state in a new direction, a fresh start for our state, which is long overdue.
Now, these results might not be finalized until a few days from now, up to even a week from now for the governor's race. But we do know in Los Angeles, the race for city mayor already has the 2 leading candidates that are decided for November. You have the current Democrat mayor, Karen Bass, and she'll be facing off with Republican Spencer Pratt. Pratt last night already making an offering to Democrat voters.
I think the next 5 months I'm going to have time to build out this team to show everybody the level of Democratic supporters that I have behind me, the heavy hitters that are in this room, that are all behind me. And I think this idea that I don't represent Democrats and Republicans and independents, anyone that's just a Los Angeles citizen that wants basic quality of life, I'll be able to show that in 5 months.
We have led a grassroots campaign because we want to bring change to our city, and that's what we've been doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Several Republican lawmakers this morning told me that the results so far in California are showing good signs for the Republican Party, especially when you consider the fact that certain districts that were just redrawn to favor Democrats, in those districts, Republicans are actually faring quite well. I'm thinking of the 6th district with Congressman Kevin Kiley, who actually switched his party to become an independent to try to hold on to that seat. And then you have the 48th district with a similar scenario. Democrats redrew that district to try to make it more favorable to the left. But Republicans in both of those districts are faring well. Here's what those Republican lawmakers told me about this.
One seat where you have the independent Republican and the Republican were the top 2 at the time. That may change as we get more ballots in, but that was a seat that was designed to be a Democrat seat, and it looks like the Republicans are ahead.
In the prior redistricting, California squeezed about all the blood they could out of that tournament. They tried to manipulate those districts. They were on the edge on several of those races before, and really didn't address the competitiveness.
I'm elated to see it, that there are some good thinking, smart Californians that have decided not to just pack their bags and leave the state, but to stick around and see if they can get some better leadership.
And after a winning streak of President Trump's endorsed candidates, one lost yesterday in Iowa. Businessman Zach Lund edged out victory over Trump-backed Randy Feenstra. He will face Democrat Rob Sand, who ran unopposed in his primary. There's also 2 Senate seats, one in Iowa, one in Montana, where Democrats chose candidates to take on the task of trying to flip red seats blue. In Iowa, Democrat State Representative Josh Turnick will take on Republican Ashley Hinson to fill Senator Joni Ernst's seat. In Montana, Democrat Alani Bankhead was chosen with the same task of trying to flip a Republican-held seat. As California ballots are being counted, NTD's David Lam gives us reactions from a watch party. He also spoke with California State Assembly candidates who are moving past the primaries in their own districts.
This year is a year of change, and people were ecstatic when the results came out.
I think it looks fantastic. I think it shows that Californians are ready for a change. They're voting for a change. 67% of all Californians want change in California. They realize we're going in the wrong direction.
I expect it. I was not surprised to see that Steve Hilton was taking first, because he's prepared and ready to be our next governor.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and after watching the result, I'm just energized. So we're going to be working very, very hard for the next 5 months.
Now, the watch party was held in San Jose at the Palermo Italian restaurant, and Carol Peffley is Republican running for California State Assembly. Here's what she had to say.
We need 7 more Republicans to win 7 assembly seats, and we can begin to block the bills that they're passing that are not good for Californians.
To not just offering, not just point out what's going on with our state, but offer solutions to fix the state of California.
Win or lose, this is going to be a celebration of all of our efforts. I think a lot of success is measured on votes, but I also measure it based on everyone's efforts, how we brought people together, the volunteers. We've all become family and friends at this point.
We were told that they were expecting about 40 people, but eventually 80 people came through. As people kept coming, they had to bring out extra chairs. Now, this is what some supporters are saying.
Because we're losing California to taxation and overburden of regulations, etc. It's horrible, you know.
Yeah. I think there needs to be a statewide audit and see where our tax dollars are going and how they're being spent, and if they're being spent wisely. I don't think they are, and I don't believe Steve believes it either.
I want to also propose an idea to have additional training for security guards to hold legal citizens' arrests until the police arrive. We need to set the example that crime is not okay here, and we've gotten a little too lax on that. So I want to set the example again here.
I want them to tackle fraud. There is a lot of fraud in California. We're finding out that there's a lot of fraud all throughout the United States. And I think this year we will see a huge shift in what happens to this state.
In San Jose, California, David Lam, NTD News.
New York Democrats are entering the national redistricting battle, moving to give state lawmakers more power over congressional maps. A proposal constitutional amendment would allow lawmakers to draw district lines if the state's independent commission deadlocks. They would also be able to approve maps with a simple majority and redraw districts between census years. The proposal would also remove the current constitutional ban on maps favoring parties or candidates. Supporters say the plan is a response to Republican districting efforts nationwide. Republicans call it an attempt to override voters' will. Any constitutional amendment would need to pass the legislature twice and then win approval from voters, but could not affect maps before 2028. President Trump saying Iran's agreement to no nuclear weapons is real, that as the president weighs resuming strikes on the regime amid ongoing negotiations. More news after this break.
With Select Specs £6 specs, you can get 10 pairs of prescription glasses for just £60. That includes frames, prescription lenses, and delivery free to your door. And what makes this really special is each pair can have a different prescription. So it's glasses for everyone. Select specs.com/£6. 10 frames, all with prescription lenses and delivery for just £60. You don't get that on the high street. Right now you can save an extra 5% with offer code CG5OFF.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did.
Please call or go online to helpheart.org. Become a monthly donor, and for a limited time only, your first month's gift will be matched.
Thank you.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
Watching the sun come up, that's my time. I can have a cup of coffee, and every day is a new opportunity.
That's cool. Your hand's gotten so Yay!
Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
The Supreme Court has allowed Alabama to use a Republican-backed congressional map in the upcoming midterm elections. The 6-3 decision stays a lower court ruling blocking the plan. The map would eliminate a court-drawn second-majority black district and could give Republicans a stronger advantage in the state's congressional delegation. The lower court had ruled the previous map discriminated against black voters, but the Supreme Court said Alabama showed a strong case of potential harm and that the public interest favored allowing the map to proceed for now. 3 liberal justices dissented, saying the decision disregards democratic values and the rule of law. The ruling clears the way for Alabama to proceed under its 2023 legislative map in this election cycle. The U.S. Supreme Court cleared the way for Alabama to use a congressional map that could benefit Republicans in the midterms. Joining us now to discuss this is Matthew Vadum, Epoch Times legal reporter and award-winning investigative journalist. So thank you for joining us today, Matthew. I just want to ask you, after the Louisiana Supreme Court ruling, that states cannot draw districts primarily based on race. So what did the Supreme Court say in its ruling with that context? What was its reasoning?
You're referring to the Louisiana versus Calais ruling, which is a landmark ruling saying that states cannot draw districts predominantly on the basis of race. So what happened is Alabama, after that ruling was handed down a few weeks ago, wanted to move forward with an old map that only had 1 black majority district instead of the current map, which has, or the later map, which had 2 majority black districts. And the lower courts ruled that despite the Louisiana versus Calais precedent, that Alabama was still discriminating racially against black voters and said, you've got to use the older map that has 2 black majority districts. So then this worked its way through the courts, then it came up pretty quickly to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court slapped the lower courts down and said, you are not following our ruling in Louisiana versus Calais, and you haven't done it right. And so we're going to set aside your rulings and allow the next congressional election in Alabama to proceed with the map that only has 1 black majority congressional district in it.
Okay, so with that being said, some are arguing that not having 2 majority black districts actually dilutes minority voting power. What is your response to this?
This was an argument that the people challenging the congressional map, the new congressional map, used, and it was not successful. I guess the thinking was that there are quite a lot of black people. About 27% of the population of Alabama is African American. And so there's no real justification for getting rid of both of the black majority districts, but it wouldn't inflict any undue hardship it wouldn't be unfair to black voters and unfairly dilute their votes to get rid of one of those 2 districts. The Supreme Court reaffirmed that state legislatures should not be drawing maps on the basis of race. And it said that the prior map with 2 black majority districts was done to comply with the old way of thinking, which was that it was necessary to have the 2 black majority districts in Alabama. But the Supreme Court, in the much publicized Calais decision, said the old way of thinking is wrong, and all the lower courts got it wrong, and you do not have to set aside. You do not have to draw districts in a way specifically to guarantee that black voters, are empowered to elect the candidate of their choice. So it gets really complicated, and there are other court rulings that the Supreme Court touched upon, which are too difficult to get into in a TV broadcast of a few minutes duration. But basically, the Supreme Court said this is the way you have to do it now. Alabama's the lower courts in Alabama said no, came back to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, you're wrong. You're going to do it our way.
Okay, yes, I know it's complicated, but can you just explain for us the reason why the 2 black district congressional map that Alabama used, why is that considered racial gerrymandering?
Because the court believed that it was done specifically to, that map was drawn with race as the foremost consideration in the state lawmakers' minds as they drew up the map. That is, in a nutshell, why the basis of the ruling. They said race was too important. Race can be a factor, the Supreme Court has said, but it may not be the predominant factor when drawing up a district, when drawing up a congressional map. And if you're going to have 2 black majority districts, then it's obvious that race predominated in the decision-making process, and that is not acceptable. And the Supreme Court said the legislature gets to decide how to draw up its congressional maps. That is its privilege. That is its right under the Constitution. States have responsibility for redistricting, including in federal elections.
So there was another argument that was talking about the 2 majority black districts that Alabama used. It's along the lines of judges should not be making decisions on maps. The voters and legislators should be making the decisions. Can you talk to us about this point as well? Where do you stand on this?
That's right. Okay, well, I don't have a stand on it. I'm a reporter. I'm trying to be objective. But you're talking about, I think, the Purcell principle. There was an important Supreme Court case years ago that said that the rules of an election should not be changed close to an election because that will lead to administrative chaos and it will confuse voters. But the Supreme Court has clarified in its most recent ruling that the Purcell principle means that only courts are forbidden from making changes to election rules close to an election. The state legislature may do so, as it wishes, whenever it wishes to, even if it may lead to administrative chaos or confusion among voters. So basically, the Supreme Court, this was a victory for, I guess you could say, states' rights in the election map drawing process.
Okay, just one final question here. More broadly speaking, how do we draw a map that is fair and neutral and excludes partisan politics? Can we do that?
Some states have tried to do that by setting up nonpartisan redistricting commissions, but the problem in many states is that they over time tend to become partisan because who appoints the members, right? They have to be appointed by somebody, by politicians. So with respect to partisan gerrymandering, the Supreme Court has said that partisan gerrymandering is a fruit of victory of the party that wins the state legislature. Moving around the district lines on a congressional map for partisan purposes, to benefit, if you're the Republicans, to benefit Republicans, if you're the Democrats, to benefit Democrats, is acceptable. That's it's the privilege of state legislatures to do it. But moving the district lines around to benefit or punish members of a particular race is not acceptable. So partisan gerrymandering is okay. Racial gerrymandering is not okay.
Okay, just quickly, you reminded me of something else, and you can be brief about this if you would like. How do you assess the Supreme Court's overall handling of the Voting Rights Act amid this redistricting battle?
Well, the Supreme Court has corrected what it believes to be serious errors in interpretations of the non-discrimination provisions of the Voting Rights Act. I'm referring to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Without getting overly technical, the Supreme Court has done this because it was asked to do it. It doesn't get to decide when to take cases or not. The cases are thrown in the Supreme Court's lap, and it decided that now was the time to issue a few weeks ago anyway, was the time to issue the Louisiana versus Calais ruling, because in its view, in the majority's view of the Supreme Court, the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act had been misinterpreted for many years, and it felt it was time to correct it. So that's why it did it. It just so happened to be, as the election cycle is heating up, and that's a coincidence. Though critics have said that the Supreme Court is right wing and Republican controlled, and it's unfair, and they're just doing it to help Republicans, but anybody who studies the Supreme Court can see that doesn't seem to be the case. They are just responding to cases that they have been put before them that they considered important enough to pass judgment on.
Well, all right, Matthew, thank you for explaining for us to what rather is a complicated topic. Pleasure speaking with you today.
I hope you are less confused than before.
I certainly am.
Okay.
President Trump saying in a new interview that Iran's agreed to no nuclear weapon. That's as the president continues to weigh further strikes on the regime amid ongoing peace talks. We now go live to NTD's White House correspondent Mari Otsu at the North Lawn. So Mari, good afternoon. What do you have?
Hey, Don, good afternoon to you. Yeah, that's right. And in that new interview, President Trump is saying that no boots on the ground will be needed in Iran. That's as he and his administration are citing the successes of both Operation Epic Fury and Operation Midnight Hammer. And as the president continues to weigh further strikes on the Iranian regime, President Trump is also pushing back against reports saying that peace talks with Iran have been either stalled or halted, saying that they have been, quote, continuous for the past several days. The White House saying that the president always, of course, prefers diplomacy diplomacy, but President Trump continues to project readiness to go back in if a great deal isn't reached. Take a look.
After 3 days, their military was virtually wiped out. Now I have to make a determination. Do we sign a deal or we do it the other way? And the other way is not nice.
What will the other way achieve, though?
Certainty. It would be over. There wouldn't be any. There wouldn't be any talking. There wouldn't be any delays. There wouldn't be. But I'd rather do it the nice way, from a humanitarian standpoint.
Can you do it just with bombing? The other way?
You don't have to. We don't need boots on the ground. No. Well, we did it. We wiped out much of their military with just bombing. We didn't put anybody on the ground.
And Don, this is coming as that U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports is holding strong, with Central Command today announcing that 125 commercial vessels have now been redirected from either entering or exiting Iranian ports transiting the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump also in that new interview confirming that these negotiations with Iran have included talks with the Supreme Leader, the new Supreme Leader, and that he would like to meet him if diplomacy permits. And that's as the White House has consistently cited this fragmented leadership in Iran as a sticking point in negotiations, saying that in the wake of Operation Epic Fury, the first and the second wave of leaders were taken out, leading to trouble communicating. The president, meanwhile, though, is saying that Iran has agreed not to obtain a nuclear weapon. Take a look.
And then I said, I did have to say, we have to do something about Iran, because regardless of how well we're doing, we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. And they've already agreed they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Have they?
Oh, yeah, they've agreed to that. I mean, now they can change their mind, but that was one of the things they had to agree. They've agreed to that. That was the big thing.
And Don, meanwhile, President Trump also in this interview floating a 2028 Vance Rubio presidential ticket, although he didn't specify which he'd prefer as his successor. The president saying that the two together would be, quote, very hard to beat. Take a look.
I mean, and they're both very talented. They get along really well. I mean, I watch them all the time. I mean, I study them as they're with each other because it's interesting. It's the human thing, the human equation. So I watch them together. They get along great. They have a good relationship. They're sort of similar in a lot of ways, but they're very talented. And I think the two of them running together as a team would be very unbeatable.
Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio this week testifying on Capitol Hill for the first time since the start of Operation Epic Fury. And he's announcing that President Trump will be attending the NATO summit in July in Turkey, saying it will likely be the, quote, most important meeting in NATO's history. And it is coming as President Trump has repeatedly criticized the alliance for its lack of support during these strikes in Iran. Don, back to you.
Okay, Mari, thank you. U.S. forces say they've intercepted multiple Iranian missiles and drones launched toward countries across the Middle East. CENTCOM says 2 Iranian missiles aimed at Kuwait fell short, while 3 more headed toward Bahrain were intercepted by U.S. and Bahraini air defenses. The U.S. military also says it shot down 3 Iranian attack drones that were targeting civilian ships in regional waters. CENTCOM says American forces carried out self-defense strikes on an Iranian military control station on Qishm Island. CENTCOM is also refuting Iranian claims that U.S. military facilities in Bahrain were hit during the attacks. Kuwait's military says hostile drones struck part of Kuwait International Airport, killing at least 1 person and injuring over 60 people. Kuwaiti authorities say commercial flights were suspended. CENTCOM says it also disbanded or disabled an oil tanker attempting to reach an Iranian port after the vessel ignored repeated warnings from American forces. The military says a U.S. aircraft fired a Hellfire missile into the ship's engine room, preventing the tanker from reaching Iran. The Treasury Department says it has sanctioned Nobitex, Iran's largest cryptocurrency exchange, along with 3 other Iranian digital asset platforms. The move is part of what the administration is calling economic fury, the campaign aimed at increasing pressure on Iran. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying the sanctions target financial networks in order to prevent the Iranian regime from developing a nuclear weapon. The Treasury says it has already disrupted tens of billions of dollars worth of revenue. And meanwhile, arrested for supplying U.S. technology to Iran, a U.S.-Iranian dual national has been charged with violating U.S. sanctions against the Iranian regime. Jamshid Ghomi is the CEO of an Iran-based tech company living in California. The Justice Department today announcing that he sold U.S.-origin computer networking technology to Iran. It says his customers include the Iranian regime's nuclear military establishments along with other sanctioned entities. The DOJ says Ghomi's operations spanned over a decade since 2011 and used the UAE as an intermediary. His company had annual sales exceeding $10 million and reached hundreds of customers. The DOJ commenting on Ghomi's arrest, quote, "Our nation's laws prohibiting doing business with one of the world's largest state sponsors of terrorism must be enforced and obeyed." If convicted, Ghomi would face up to 20 years in prison. His first court appearance is this afternoon. Ukraine today striking Russia's second largest city, St. Petersburg. This as Russia is holding a major economic forum in the city. Moscow is already vowing retaliation. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pastar has the war update.
New footage shows smoke rising into the air and explosions ringing out in Russia's St. Petersburg. Ukraine struck an oil terminal, a naval base, and another military facility in the nation's second largest city. The attacks coming just hours before Russian President Vladimir Putin kicked off an economic forum, an apparent Ukrainian attempt to embarrass the Russian president. It's the fifth time the annual St. Petersburg International Economic Forum is taking place during the Ukraine war. Ukraine confirmed the attacks, releasing video footage of the drone strikes on multiple targets. President Vladimir Zelensky saying such deep strikes allow Ukraine to negotiate with Russia on equal terms.
Through our mid-range and deep strikes, Russia is facing clear fuel shortages. So, through this pressure, we are making Russia choose between diplomacy and further losses.
Zelensky added that he's ready for direct peace talks with Putin. Russia, meanwhile, vowing retaliation.
I'd like to remind you of the statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which said that our responses will be systematic in nature, and indeed, they already are.
The spokesman added that Russia will make sure to prevent such Ukrainian attacks in the future. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
The U.S. is proposing new tariffs on imports from 60 economies over what it says is a failure to block goods made with forced labor. Here's what we know so far on this.
The Trump administration has proposed placing more duties on imports from 60 economies. It cited failures to curb trade in goods made with forced labor, which it called unreasonable, and argued it restricted U.S. commerce. The duties would reach up to 10% or 12.5%. The proposals by the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, or USTR, is the latest finding from a Section 301 unfair trade practices investigation. The USTR said it would impose 10% duties on imports from major economies including the EU, Taiwan and Britain, plus neighbours like Mexico and Canada. The trade agency also said it would impose additional duties of 12.5% on the other 45 countries it investigated. The US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said the failure to address the importation of goods made with forced labour is unacceptable. He added it meant American workers were forced to compete globally on an unlevel playing field. The announcement comes ahead of the July 24th expiration of a 10% temporary tariff imposed by the Trump administration in February. The USTR further said it would exempt a number of products from the tariffs. Those included energy, rare earths and certain other metals, beef, coffee, pharmaceuticals, aircraft parts and other selected items. The USTR said it would accept public comments on the proposed tariffs and other remedies through July 6th.
Senate Republicans unveiled a revised reconciliation bill that strips up to $1 billion from the White House ballroom. More after this break. Stay tuned.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
I'm watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Senate Republicans unveiled a revised reconciliation bill that strips up to $1 billion from the White House ballroom. GOP senators had agreed to the move before the Memorial Day recess, but the revised reconciliation package makes the decision final. The Senate Judiciary Committee released the updated text. The $1 billion had been earmarked for proposed security upgrades to the ballroom. President Trump had pressed Republican senators to authorize the spending after an assassination attempt on his life at the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner. The Justice Department has announced an initiative to fight crime in American cities. The DOJ is saying it will provide $300 million in grants. According to the department, the Model Cities initiative is the next step in the Trump administration's Make America Safe Again agenda. The DOJ says the funding will go to cities that are serious about reducing violent crime, restoring law and order, and modernizing public safety infrastructure. The announcement of the initiative, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said, quote, "The Model Cities initiatives will supercharge our law enforcement partners and restore the rule of law to America's neighborhoods, towns, and cities." Blanche added, quote, "Our message is clear. We will help those who help us make America safe again." 2 to 4 cities with a population of 100,000 or more are eligible. President Trump says he believes Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could become the permanent head of the Justice Department. The president praised Blanche as a very talented guy and said he is doing a very good job at the DOJ. President Trump was asked directly whether Blanche would be the next Attorney General. He responded, quote, "I think he will." He also said he's satisfied with the pace of work at the Justice Department. He also praised Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, calling him very good. He said he has not ruled him out for the Attorney General role, noting there are a lot of great people in the Republican Party. President Trump is also weighing in on the 2028 presidential election. He says Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be very hard to beat if they ran together. The president says he has watched them together and they are great. Both Vance and Rubio are seen as potential contenders for the 2028 Republican nomination, though neither has formally entered the race and both have downplayed talk of a run. Rubio's recent appearances at White House briefings have drawn attention from both Republicans and some Democrats, with some praising his performance. Secretary of Homeland Security Markwayne Mullin is back on Capitol Hill for a second day. He is testifying before the House Homeland Security Committee. The secretary used his opening statement to address an allegation from Ranking Member Benny Thompson, who said that racism and xenophobia are driving immigration policy.
You start talking about peaceful protesters and racism. The racism is a reckless term that is thrown around way too often. It's just, it's thrown around like it is true. And yet you can't point to something that is actually racism. It's just a term when you lack the words to actually describe your hatred towards President Trump, so you just use racism. And what's bad is you feed in to what's causing our ICE agents that simply enforcing the law that Congress passed. They're not going outside the law, they're enforcing the law that Congress passed. We don't pick and choose which law we decide to enforce, we enforce the law. And because they're doing so, it's racism, but yet their death threats are up by 8,000%, vehicular damage is up 3,300%, assaults up 1,300%. And what's that do from peaceful protest?
Congressman Thompson also pressed Mullin on comments about potentially withdrawing immigration agents from airports in sanctuary cities. Thompson referred to the idea as punishment.
It wasn't punishing sanctuary cities. It was sanctuary cities refusing to allow local and state enforcement officers to respond when we called. What we and their response was we don't have the resources. Well, if they don't have the resources, and we have to pull the resources someplace. I'm not going to pull them from other regions. I have 80,000 law enforcement agencies through DHS, and through DHS, I can pull them out of Customs and Border Protection. That's out of the airport, and unfortunately, until they get the resources at the state level, I don't have it.
The White House is seeking $63 billion in funding for the Department of Homeland Security in 2027, a decrease of $2.2 billion from current funding levels. The budget proposal comes just weeks after a record-long DHS shutdown ended. Meanwhile, Senate Republicans are exploring a reconciliation package aimed at boosting funding for immigration enforcement agencies. Now a look at the Delaney Hall Detention Facility in New Jersey, a site of recent rioting and protests. White House border czar Tom Homan says the facility meets high federal standards and will remain open, speaking on Fox News.
But we got to remember what started all this. You got Democratic lawmakers on Memorial Day making false allegations about the facility, about the food, the medical care, hunger strikes. I went into that facility. I went to the medical. I went to outdoor recreation, indoor recreation. I even made a surprise visit this weekend and walked into the cafeteria and ate the same meal that the detainees around me were eating. So there wasn't any abuse. It's not inhumane conditions. I went to the entire facility. I ate the same meal they ate. That facility is well run, and the governor keeps saying she's going to keep raising hell if that facility shuts down. Well, I got news for the governor. That facility isn't going anywhere. We're going to enforce the law. We're going to detain people, and we're going to remove people.
Homeland Security says ICE has higher detention standards than most U.S. prisons that hold actual U.S. citizens. The department emphasizing that detainees receive meals, medical care, and access to legal services. Border czar Tom Homan said the facility has now been secured and hardened to deal with rioters. Homan also said local law enforcement had previously not responded to emergency calls from ICE officers, but he says the issue has since been resolved through coordination with state and local authorities. A suspect is dead after taking hostages in California. The Bakersfield Police Department saying the standoff ended about 12 hours after police were called to the building. The FBI identified the individual as Anthony Scott Searles Harris.
He was a 41-year-old white male who served in the U.S. Army from 2006 to 2007. However, he was dishonorably discharged for going AWOL. That's absent without leave. He was no stranger to law enforcement and has a criminal history of using weapons to commit violent offenses. In 2014, he was charged with sex acts with a child under 14. He's a registered sex offender.
FBI personnel shot and killed Harris. The standoff in downtown Bakersfield began yesterday afternoon when officers responded to a bomb threat at the Chase Bank building. Bakersfield police said Harris barricaded himself inside with several people. Officers established a perimeter around the area and warned the public to stay away. The police department's crisis negotiation team had been in contact with Harris by phone. 2 hostages were released after negotiations with authorities. Police said all the hostages were unharmed. The Knicks are in the NBA Finals as New York City prepares to watch Game 1. Apparel stores are having record sales. We have more news in just a moment after this quick break.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong. Take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
I've devoted my life to combining cutting-edge science with biblical wisdom, and I believe Healing Leaves Tea is the Bible's best-kept health secret. In Revelation 22, the Bible reveals the tree of life and declares the leaves are for the healing of the nations. Amazingly, science confirms what Scripture declares. These leaves support digestion and immunity, maintain healthy inflammation, and boost energy. So instead of another supplement, I created Healing Leaves Tea. It's caffeine-free, convenient, and delicious, hot or cold. Thousands are making Healing Leaves Tea part of their daily wellness routine, and now you can too.
Call the number on your screen for this exclusive TV deal and save 30% on your preferred customer order with free shipping and risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. As a bonus, we'll include the Beginner's Guide to Essential Oils, a $16.99 value free. Call the number on your screen to learn more right now.
A partnership drawing concerns. NBA superstar Steph Curry is announcing a deal with Chinese sportswear giant Li Ning to create its own signature brand. This means he is no longer a free agent when it comes to his sneakers. ESPN says the agreement includes basketball products, athleisure wear, the ability for Curry to sign athletes under his brand, and a full golf line. Curry calls this a partnership of a lifetime. A statement on Curry's brand collective website, 30 Inc., notes plans to launch Curry's brand in stores in both the United States and China. The Chinese brand has a controversial human rights record. It has been accused of using forced labor in supply chains and investigated by U.S. Customs. Former NBA star Enes Kanter Freedom was on NTD's Capital Report criticizing Curry's new deal.
I believe right now there are close to 30 NBA players are, signing some kind of like a, deal with the Chinese shoe deal. But, it actually makes me sad because Stephen Curry, obviously one of the faces of the league, right? He has millions of followers around the world. And I remember back in, 2020, all these, NBA players were standing up against all the problems that are happening in America. They were, lecturing us and everybody in our society about the problems that are happening in America, social justice, and say we have so many problems that are happening in America and we gotta, bring some kind of change. But then, I see the hypocrisy, throughout the years, all these players are now taking, hundreds of millions of dollars by these shoe companies that are linked with the slave labor and sweatshops. This is hypocritical, unacceptable. Someone has to call them out.
The irony is you're sitting in here with us right now because of what you were putting on your sneakers and your shoes.
Exactly.
It's amazing. I don't know if we have the B-roll of it, but if our viewers don't know, you took a stance on human rights. You didn't really say anything, but you put it on your shoes, and it caused quite a stir. For athletes, the CCP's crimes can sometimes feel distant when there's a huge payday right in front of them. How does each individual endorsement deal sort of help to whitewash the CCP's crimes against humanity?
It was so interesting because NBA was actually pushing us to talk about the social justice problems that are happening in America. And just like literally you said, I started to put in all these messages on my shoes which were non-political. I said, free Tibet, stand with Hong Kong, stand with Taiwan, free Uyghurs, stop organ harvesting, which was so interesting. Even before the first game started, they told me that you got to take your shoes off because we're getting so much pressure from the Chinese government. Well, obviously they didn't say Chinese government, but they said internationally. Everybody knows it was from China. And after the first game, they stopped showing every Boston Celtics game on television. And we're talking about the biggest, team in NBA, the biggest market probably after the Lakers. But, and then literally after 5 months, I was fired from my job. But this is unacceptable. I'm gonna say sick to my stomach, which these players who are getting millions of dollars to lecture us about the problems that are happening in America, but when it comes to China, everybody's silent. I mean, it's hypocritical. We gotta call them out. And NBA is one of the biggest hypocritical, organization in America. And I'm just glad that I'm exposing their hypocrisy.
The spirit of the NBA Finals is alive in New York City. Tonight is Game 1 of the Knicks versus the Spurs. Game 1 is in San Antonio, but in the city, it's Go Knicks as apparel stores are having record sales. NTD's Sean Marshall has more.
It's midday in Midtown Manhattan, and the outdoor watch party is being set up for the Knicks versus Spurs NBA Finals Game 1 at Madison Square Garden. And people from all over New York City are in Midtown Manhattan on the hunt for official Knicks gear. Inside the arena, the Madison Square Garden memorabilia store has a long line, and the Fifth Avenue NBA and Lids store can just barely keep up with the high numbers of customers looking for NBA Finals items.
The city's on fire right now. The buzz about the Knicks, the traffic in our NBA store, as you can see behind me, all-time record traffic and sales for us here at the NBA store. Just the amount of support New York and all of the boroughs have for the Knicks has been amazing.
The store's packed with customers on every level. The whole building is buzzing with NBA Finals energy.
Well, it's all about Knicks in 6 right now is what they're saying. But just looking forward to a great series. Next week we have 2 home games, but the series starts tonight on Wednesday. We're just so excited about all the fans being here. It's such a positive environment. Everybody's having a blast, and we're providing all of the apparel and headwear for all of the Knicks fans in all of the boroughs and everybody coming in from out of town.
And New York City would never forget the children. On Monday, Mayor Zohran Mamdani signed a mock executive order allowing children in the city to stay up late to watch the 2026 NBA Finals. Mamdani invited children to leave their handprints on the document and led chants in support of the New York Knicks.
Let's go Knicks! Let's go Knicks! Let's go! Here is our mayor's order, repealing kids' bedtimes for the Knicks Finals run. Are we ready? Who here was alive in 1999? No, you were not. You were?
The San Antonio Spurs host the Knicks in Game 1 of the finals on Wednesday night. The Knicks are playing in the finals for the first time since 1999. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
And President Trump is now in the White House signing an executive order and talking about the Washington Monument reflecting pool. Let's take a quick look.
Right in between is almost 2,500 feet long. I could show you, it would be like the tallest building in the world laid on its side, and the building wouldn't reach it. And today it gets completed. The pool gets completed at 4 o'clock, and the water will start to flow in, and it won't leak because it's done properly. That's the color we picked, and I think it'll be something amazing. It's never worked, a great concept that never worked because it always leaked. They used stone originally, and the stone leaks because it's got a lot of crevices. And we have a very special material that we used, and we'll do this for a tiny fraction. You remember President Obama tried to do it, and it failed miserably. They spent over $100 million between him and Biden. They spent much more than $100 million. Spent over $100 million between him and Biden. They spent much more than $100 million. And it never worked, and it was filthy dirty. We took out 12 truckloads of garbage out of this pool. It was just rotting and terrible, a terrible thing for the country. So we have many monuments and fountains all over Washington, and we're just about completed with all of them. The fountains are all working now, 28 fountains. And as of this moment, just about this moment, a couple are going to be a few days longer. And we went on a real kick, some of the most beautiful fountains in the world, but they haven't worked in 30, 40 years, most of them. As you know, you saw the one in front of the station. Union Station was horrible, and now it's beautiful. It was all covered in graffiti. But this would be the big one, because this is, again, could you get me that picture of the how it compares in size to the biggest buildings anywhere in the world? It's sort of amazing. So we're very proud of that. We're proud of a lot of things we've done, but this is something. So Washington now, as you know, a very safe city. It's considered a very safe city. It was a very unsafe city 14 months ago. Now it's a very safe city, so we're very proud of that. But it's also become a beautiful city. The encampments, the homeless are no longer sitting in the middle of the park. The level of beauty of the city is incredible. We regrassed many of the areas. We're really doing a job at Lafayette Park, which is really the entrance to the White House. And that's going to be completed very shortly, and it'll be incredible, as it was originally envisioned. Most of it we're doing as originally envisioned. And if you walk across the street to Lafayette Park, you'll see something that's incredible. It's going to be, we'll have it open before July 4th. This, we wanted to get it open before July 4th. On the reflecting pond, or the reflecting pool, as some people call it, very important to us was the longevity, having it so that it's not closed every day. And all these are, I just had this done. You're getting a first glimpse, but that's your size compared. So those are compared to, those are among the tallest buildings in the world, including the Empire State Building, World Trade Center, Sears Tower, Chicago. So if you lay it on its side, you'd take 2 or 3 of them to fill it in, because the width is almost 200 feet wide. And actually much more than 2,000, close to, including everything, it's about 2,500 feet in length to the end. And it's going to be beautiful. It was a great concept that never worked because they couldn't hold the water. Now they hold the water for a tiny fraction of the cost. We did a fantastic job, and Department of Interior was amazing. Doug Burgum, really absolutely amazing. And you're going to have something you're going to be very proud of, and it'll last for 50 to 100 years before you have to do anything with it. Very strong, powerful substance that we use. And we picked a color called American Flag Blue. We had color choices. And before it was just gray. It was the color of concrete and stone. So it's going to be really special. I thought you'd like to see it. And the work ends on the pool, we also did a lot more than we anticipated. We did all of the sidewalks outside of the pool where people walk or they stand. That's where Martin Luther King made his great speech with 1 million people. I had the same amount of people. Actually, I had a little bit tighter. It was a little bit tighter. They said he had 1 million people and I had 25,000 people. And yet, if you look at the picture of comparison, the exact same location, the exact same pool, except now the pool's clean. It was filthy dirty then. But it was amazing because that was my first glimpse into politics. I made a speech and I had it. More people, in other words, you put the picture side by side, which we have, and they said, I had 25,000, he had 1 million, but I had more people. They were tighter. My people were tighter. But these are minor details. That's what I said, well, wait a minute, there's something wrong. From a foreign country, another country, and said, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln, you take a look at the Washington Monument, beautiful, Lincoln Memorial, she said, but the walking in between was disgusting. The thing was loaded up. We took 11 or 12 dumpsters, trucks, full of garbage out of there that they were shoveling, and it was there for years under the Biden administration. Again, Biden and Obama, if you combine the money they spent, it was over $142 million. And they got nothing, as usual. So I'm very proud of it. Maybe I shouldn't say that before it opens. Maybe I'll open it. It'll lick like a sieve, but it's not going to hit. Maybe I shouldn't say that before it opens. Maybe I'll open it. It'll lick like a sieve, but it's not going to hit. I'm very good at building things and constructing things. So I hope you're going to go take a look at it. The sidewalks are being sandblasted. The granite's on the outside. They're granite. And that lasts on a strong stone. And that's being sandblasted. It's going to look like really something beautiful. It's going to be brand new. It's got a lot of life. So just enjoy it. Rodney Scott is here along with Peter Navarro. Peter's been with me for a long time, knows more about China than any human being on earth, except for, I would say, President Xi knows a lot more. But other than President Xi, Peter's probably in second place, and certainly having to do with trade. And but they're here to talk about something else. And Rodney, if you would, please.
Sure. So we're talking about rolling out a customs EO. Why is that important? Basically, it's America first in the trade environment, like we've been doing on the border. People are used to the illegal immigration, the narcotics. We've locked that down. This is literally taking the same principles and applying them to trade to protect American industry. Different countries and different people are undercutting our import-export rules, the tariffs, to literally undermine American businesses. And we're going to put a stop to it in the same way. We are going to increase the amount of data we have so that we can actually make conscious decisions about who and what comes into this country. And we're going to start holding people accountable. So we're literally going to use the rules that are in place to a certain extent and then make some recommendations for legislation going forward. But we're going to start holding trade accountable for bringing threatening things and threatening products into our country, just like we have on the rest of the border. So Customs and Border Protection gets a lot of attention for the border wall, everything else. This is going to be basically the equivalent in the trade environment.
And sir, you did a miracle when you came in. You shut that border down in a matter of days to what has been a flood of millions of illegal aliens. And a secure America is a safe America. What we're going to do here, the EO you're going to sign, that's about a $20 to $30 billion a year EO you're going to get, because we are going to crack down with this detective border that CBP is putting in innovatively. We're going to crack down on the fentanyl. We're going to crack down on the unhealthy products, the counterfeits, and all the tariff evaders. So this is a message to the world today. When you sign this, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and this is what Donald Trump does. He secures our borders, and not just physically, but in terms of trade. The new customs border is going to be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. You know, we had millions of people pouring through our border, and when I got here, and it happened twice, but the first time was a lot easier because it wasn't nearly as bad as this. But in 2016, we had a bad border, really a bad border, and pretty quickly we made it very good. We started the wall. I built over 1,000 miles of wall. Without that, you could have never done it, no matter how good you do. The wall has been, remember the Democrats I call them. but the Democrats said the wall doesn't do anything. They said no. Walls work. Two things. Everything else is obsolete. It gets obsolete quickly. Two things: wheels and walls. They've been here for a long time. A wheel and a wall you'll always have. Other things, your computer's going to be obsolete about 2 days after you buy it. But wheels and walls, they work. And we built an incredible wall that stretches more than 1,000. Think of it, 1,000 miles. And without that, we would not be as successful. We're building now additional areas because we need some additional wall in certain areas. But we had millions of people, 25 million people. I think it's more than that, but 25 million people came in during the Biden years, the Biden disasters. And we stopped that. We stopped it down to zero. Hard to believe, but the numbers come out. Every month they come out 0, 0, 0. People don't come anymore because they know they're not going to get through. So we had caravans with 10, 15, 20, 25,000 people coming up from countries. And remember, I know these people. I know the leaders of the countries. They're smart and they're cunning and they're streetwise. And they would put their people that were from prisons in there. They would put their murderers in there. And they'd put a lot of bad people. And they'd also put people that just didn't work. They'd put all of their welfare recipients in there. They'd send them into our country. And all of that stopped. And many of those people are now brought back. Many of the murderers, 11,888 were murderers. I say it all the time. 50% of them murdered more than one person, 2, 3, 4. It's 7 people murdered into our country. They let them into our country. It's a sin that should never be forgotten. So it's a much different country right now. We're respected by everybody. Everybody in the world respects. We just got back from China, as you know. Some of you were with us. And President Xi was great. And he said, you're a respected country, respected all over the world. He said, you did it so fast. We did. We did it in a very short period of time. This country was a laughingstock all over the world. For 4 years, we were a laughingstock. And now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the most successful country in the world. So this is very important what you're doing, and I'd like to have Will just say a few words about it specifically, please.
Yes, sir. As Rodney and Councilman Navarro said, this is an executive order on strengthening customs enforcement using new technologies and new approaches. The idea here is to ensure that importers of record, other people moving goods across our border, are accurately reporting what they're bringing in, that contraband, that illegal goods aren't being brought across the border, and that goods being brought in are being accurately accounted for purposes of duties and tariffs and all of the other things we require of importers of record. But this executive order will launch a series of bold new steps that I think we as an administration believe will result in the tightest, most controlled border in American history, following on, obviously, your success in closing the southern border and stopping the scourge of illegal immigration into the country as well, sir.
So, Peter, what kind of money do you think this involves in terms of savings to our country?
I will guarantee you the first year it'll be at least $15 billion, the next year 25, and out there's 80 to 100 billion that the tariff evaders are doing. Plus, sir, we're going to stop more of the fentanyl coming in, and we're going to crack down on counterfeits. This is good for America. This is good for the people that elected you. It's good for the country.
And we have fentanyl coming in 59% less. Cut it by a number that nobody thought was even possible. We're going to get it a lot lower than that, but we have it. And we did this in a very short period of time.
This is going to be a great one, sir.
You didn't have
this
the
is
same
a moneymaker for us, and CBP has been doing a really great job innovating on this, sir.
You've done a fantastic job. Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir.
Okay, we'll start one. Oh, that's a good one. That's a nice one. Okay, what else do you have?
This is another executive order on reforms to the federal workforce, sir. Currently, with respect to many policymaking positions in the departments and agencies across government, we lack the ability, because of existing personnel rules, to effectively discipline or promote people who are in policymaking roles. This executive order follows on a number of previous executive orders. The end goal is making the federal workforce more accountable and ensuring that people, particularly in policymaking roles, aren't unaccountable to the wishes of the administration.
And the reason for this was what? Whose idea was that?
James Shirk, who's here from Domestic Policy Council, can
Would
speak
you like
to
to
that.
say something? Come on, you did a great job on this. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. It's been a long-standing problem that it's almost impossible to fire a federal employee, even in cases of serious misconduct. And as a result, if you have employees who are trying to undermine the wishes of the American people by pushing their own agenda or just incompetent at what they're doing, agencies have a long-standing difficult time getting rid of them. And that's a particular problem if you're in a senior policy influencing role where you're controlling the policies of the entire agency. What this does is basically treats those employees like private sector workers. They're going to be hired on the basis of merit and competence, but if they're messing up, then they can be removed quickly rather than taking a year or longer to get rid of them.
That's great. And you were very much involved in it?
I was, sir.
This guy's central casting. Tell him. He's like perfectly casted. I'm casting a movie. You couldn't have done that any better. Were you nervous?
A little. Thank you, sir.
Would anybody else like to say anything? About either one? What about you? Come on over here. Come on. Can you top him? You don't have to. Thank you very much. Great job. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this customs reform EO is a long time coming for us. Helps us solve problems that have plagued the customs system for many years. We've had a system where people have basically been able to hide behind shell companies. They move from one to the next, and then we can't go after them. This EO really enables us to crack down, hold people accountable.
It's so important. I know you took it so seriously. See how serious they are? I mean, there's a love of the country. This isn't like normal stuff. These are the smartest people in the world. They can do anything they want. They can have any job. And they love this country. They just want to be here. And they hate what you saw. And you fixed it. Thank you very much. All of you. Anybody else? Anybody? Only if you want. I'm not going to call anybody. Anybody? You don't have to. They covered you well, right? I don't know if you could do any better. Thank you very much. That's a great job, fellas. It's a big one. Okay, thank you. Pulitzer Prize winner over there. I got the great Pulitzer Prize winner. Okay, thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Do you have any questions on this? Thank you, Peter.
Mr. President, given Iran's attacks on Kuwait, this latest attack on Kuwait, is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Well, you know, there's a reason for everything. And we hit them pretty hard the night before, and actually last night. And when it was explained to me, I said, all right, so we'll do that. But we've been hitting them pretty hard, a little bit. So there is a reason for certain things, and there's usually a reason that sometimes makes sense. But they did something, not a big deal. We got it. We nipped it in the bud very quickly, as we do. We're the greatest military in the world. But some people would say they were slightly provoked because we took a strong action for a different reason. So they were reciprocating. Yep.
Can you explain?
I hear the negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President, yes,
It could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, you know, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend.
Mr. President, yesterday.
How do you define ceasefire?
Pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefire is when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
Mr. President, yesterday you signed.
It's not bad, but it's true. I mean, it's a ceasefire there is much different than a ceasefire in other parts of the world.
Mr. President, can you explain why you decided to drop the anti-weaponization fund?
So I love it. I think it's so important. This is a victim right here, but not only a victim, he was also a student of it. What happened to great people, great American people, the way they were victimized, the way they were savaged. You have suicides. They killed themselves. They went bankrupt. They were weaponized by the Biden administration, by a bunch of thugs, including Obama people. And like nobody's probably ever been. I mean, I can think of maybe 2 instances in this country where they've had it to somewhere that extent. I'm not even sure if it was so much. They were put in jail for long periods of time. They were accused of things that never happened. They had prosecutors that were radical lunatics, and their lives were destroyed. And frankly, we had a lawsuit that against us on the weaponization, where the judge, a radical left judge, ruled against it. And we'll see how that all works out. But a radical left judge ruled against it. But these people, their lives have been destroyed. Their families have been destroyed. Many of them. I'm not just talking about a few people. Many of them. I'm one of them. They raided my house, Mar-a-Lago. That never happened. Nobody ever thought of a thing like that. It turned out that it was a total fake. Everything about it was fake and corrupt. We have all the information. The good advantage to sitting here is we can get information that you wouldn't get by what we have and what we are going to be showing over the coming weeks and months. You're not even going to believe. Some of you will believe it, like CNN will believe it because they knew what was going on. They're crooked as hell. CNN's a very corrupt organization, but with a corrupt reporter standing right there. Never smiles. She never smiles. She's a young, beautiful woman, never smiles. I never see a smile off her face. I see her standing there with hatred in her eyes, like she has hatred because we have borders, because we have a strong military, because we cut our taxes, because we do things that everybody wanted, and then we win our election in a massive landslide. We win 87% of the counties in this country. Nobody's ever heard of a thing like that. And that's because we're doing the right job. And we took a detour down to Iran because we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon under any circumstances. We can't let that happen. So the reporters should be happy. They shouldn't be unhappy. They should be very happy. Because you know what we're doing? We're saving our country.
Yes, Mr. President, two questions. One on Iran and then one on your birthday.
Okay.
You will like. The first one is, are you concerned at all that the IRGC could sabotage any potential deal? And then the second one is, you have a birthday coming up. I won't say which number, but it's a big birthday. So you're going to blow out you're going to blow out some candles on a cake, hopefully. What are your wishes that you'd like to see accomplished for the next year for the United States and your presidency?
Well, I'll go in your order. Anything can happen, when you're dealing with Iran, but when you're dealing with other countries. But that's a very volatile part of the world, probably the most volatile part of the world. The people are volatile. The leadership, you see what's going on. We've gone through 3 teams of leadership. It's been we're military. There's never been a military like what we have. We could go another 2-3 weeks and just wipe everybody out. I'd rather not do that. Very easy to do. They're ready to do it. They want to do it. They want to do it. But if we can get something down in writing which will accomplish the same thing without killing everybody, I'd like to do that. Most of my people, I think, would like to do that. Some people wouldn't, but most of them would. But we had to take a detour as far as wishes for, and I'm very proud of that detour, By the way, just to finish off on that, we had the strongest stock market in history, and I said we have no choice, we have to do it. I knew it would affect it, but I was very happily surprised when I saw that today we hit another stock market high. I mean, we have the highest stock market in history with a military conflict going on, or a war. Some people call it war, some people call it a military. It's not a big thing for us. We have a great military. It's not a big thing for us. But if I didn't do that, I spoke to people like Peter, great financial people, Scott and Howard and lots of others. I said, we just hit the greatest stock market in history. Everyone's 401ks are the highest they've ever been. Everybody's making a lot of money. Costs are coming down. We took over the highest cost and the highest inflation in the history of our country. Costs are coming down. Everything's good. And I hate to tell you this, but we've got to take a little detour and go down to a place called the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we're going to have to stop them from having a nuclear weapon. That's what we've done. And they've agreed to that. By the way, if they sign the agreement, they will have agreed to, we will not have a nuclear weapon or bomb. We will not develop one. We will not buy one. Originally it was, we will not develop. I said, what about if they buy? That went into a 2-week negotiation. But in the end, we got that. Now, we got it if they signed the paper. In theory, they're pretty close to signing a paper. We've actually gotten along with them very well. And you know what you saw for the last few nights? It takes two to tango. You understand that. We hit them very hard on something else, unrelated. And so they were responding. But, and not very strongly. As far as birthday, as far as wishes, I want to just, we have a phrase, I think it goes down, I would think, in the history of our country, maybe the history of the world, is the greatest slogan or phrase ever. Make America great again. That's all I want. I want to make America great again. I think we've come a long way. I think we're the most respected country in the world right now. By far, the most respected. President Xi told me, I was talking about, he's a friend of mine. He's a good man. I hate to say it because the press goes and they say, oh, we called him a good man. He is a good, he's for China. I'm for the USA. It's like one of those things. But we do very well now with China. When I came here, we're not doing well with China. My first term, when I inherited that, it was like what China was doing to us was incredible. I don't blame China. They took advantage of stupid people, really stupid people. So we're doing great. But the phrase, make America great again, that's all I want. Very simple phrase to think of. And I think it's the greatest in the history. I would say that's probably the greatest phrase in the history of the world, not only here. There's never been anything like it. Make America great again. That's what I've done, and we've made it great. In fact, in a way, I want to use it because I would never give it up. MAGA, it's too good. It's too good. It really is the Republican Party. That's why we're doing so well. That's why we, if you look at the Republican Party from before I came till now, this is a much different party. It's a much bigger party. We have many, many more people. And I think the thought, the mind, the thought is much different than it was 10 years ago. It's been, it's amazing. A much more powerful party, much different party, and a much more impactful party. Thank you very much.
Two questions on Iran.
Go ahead.
First, you said last week that the U.S. would go in and dig out the buried nuclear material.
With them.
With them.
Right.
Did
That's
Iran
possible.
actually agree to that?
Well, it depends on what day you're talking about. They did agree, and
put
then
that on
sometimes
Friday.
they agreed. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's one of the things we talk about. It's very overrated. I'm the one that overrated it. I thought, to me, it was important. To other people, it's not important because those beautiful B-2 right here, the B-2 bombers, they obliterated. When CNN said maybe it was an obliteration, they knew. I mean, before the pilots even came back home, before anybody saw the site. But then the Atomic Energy Commission went. They said it was obliterated. That stuff is buried underneath a mountain that virtually collapsed. It's very, very hard to get it. But nevertheless, I want to get it. We're the only ones, us and probably China are the only two countries that have the equipment where you can do that. So, I want to get it. We have, at different times, they've changed their mind a couple of times. But as it stands now, we will go in at some time in the not too distant future. It's very safe down there. We have, with Space Force, we have cameras. Every angle of those three sites are being watched at all times. If anybody went there, we'll see exactly what's happening, and we'll blow it up a little bit further. But as far as getting it, is the B-2 bombers did a job like nobody's ever seen. In the night, with no moon, dead darkness, at 1 o'clock in the morning or so, they dropped those bombs, the biggest, just about as big a bomb as you can ever find, and it went down air chutes. It was hard to believe that they can do the technology. It followed a beam right into the air chutes, exploded. Very hard to get that material, but I still nevertheless want it. And I don't want to do it if we're in conflict. I don't want to put men in that kind of danger. I remember Jimmy Carter had some bad problems in Iran with the hostages. I don't want to ever put our people in that kind of danger. But when it's over, as of this moment, it's agreed that we will go in with them. We will get it, and we will destroy it. It will be destroyed.
And this is, sorry, I have a follow-up, Mr. President. My second question. Is it possible to get to a deal with Iran, whether to go in and do that or to open up the Strait of Hormuz without seeing an Israeli cessation of their hostilities in Lebanon?
I think it would. We're trying to separate it. I mean, look, it's a very different kind of a thing. We actually spoke with Hezbollah for the first time ever. We didn't know they spoke. And they agreed yesterday they're not going to shoot. Israel's not going to shoot. We're just going to see. But I'd like to separate it. I'd like to have it a separate thing because it is separate. But Israel, hey, look, they've been a great partner. Bibi Netanyahu has been, for me, a great partner. For other people, not so good. For me, he's been very good. We were very effective, what we've done. And they needed us. They couldn't have done it without us. Couldn't have even come close. And they needed us. And they got us to help them with a real problem, because Iran was a real problem, a big problem, a worldwide problem, because they wouldn't have stopped with Israel. They would have blown up the Middle East. And you saw that by the rockets. All those rockets that went to the five, mostly for the most part, the 5 countries outside of Israel, those rockets were aimed there before we hit them with the B-2 bombers. They were going to blow up the Middle East. They were going to blow up Israel, but they were going to blow up the Middle East. And I stopped it, and I'm very proud I stopped it. And we also stopped it in the first term when I terminated the Iran nuclear deal penned by Barack Hussein Obama. It was one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen. And this has no relation. I like these morons, these Democrats, D-U-M, Democrats, that go on television and say, oh, well, this is just like the Obama deal. This is the exact opposite. This is no path to a nuclear weapon. That was an absolute path to a nuclear weapon that you couldn't have done anything about. This is the exact opposite. They gave billions and billions of dollars to Iran, including $1.7 billion put into a Boeing 757 with the seats taken out because there wasn't enough room if you left the seats, with $1.7 billion in cash taken from the banks in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and flown to Iran, 1.7 in green cash, and then tens of billions of dollars given to Iran by our government. Frankly, they picked the wrong country, but maybe we're going to be getting along with Iran. We're going to find out. You know, there is a good possibility, I think, because without the bombing, that wouldn't have worked, without the blockade. The blockade is the most powerful thing. I think the blockade maybe has more impact than the bombing has. But the blockade that we have, the naval blockade, is incredible. Now, one ship has gotten through, unless we wanted it to. And people respect it a lot. And we'll see. But, you know, there's a chance if this really worked out, they could rebuild. You know, it used to be a very, very good nation. You go back, I have friends that used to, old timers, they used to go there and they used to do well. They used to build in Iran. They built apartment houses and they built office buildings in Iran. Hard to believe, right? But there's a chance that maybe that comes back. But whether it comes back or not, I think we have a very powerful deal that we're negotiating. The exact opposite as the Obama deal. The Obama deal was a disgrace. It gave them a nuclear weapon. We do the exact thing. We, under our deal, they will never, ever have a nuclear weapon. One of the other things that happens, and this is important, but there's nothing more important than taking away the capability of a nuclear weapon from Iran.
Mr. President,
Wait, but one of the other things that's important and very important is that immediately upon signing the Memorandum of Understanding, the Hormuz Strait will open. And it'll open up quickly, and we've already had our minesweepers there. You know, we're sweeping, as you probably have heard. And these are underwater minesweepers. They're great, amazing technology. They're underwater because usually when you're looking for mines, that usually means you have some dangerous characters out there. That's why. So we're underwater, but we've swept mines, and we've gotten most of them, we think. So, but the Hormuz Strait will open immediately upon signing. Now, that's subject to a couple of areas being cleaned out also of mines, which we don't think there are any. So it'll happen very quickly, and we'll take the southern route anyway. But immediately upon signing, we open up the Hormuz Strait.
Mr. President, just to clarify on what you were asked earlier, is the $1.8 billion DOJ fund dead or is it on hold?
It's, I'd have to ask the lawyers, I don't know. I know one thing, the weaponization, are you talking about the weaponization fund?
Yeah, what's your
The weaponization fund, as far as I'm concerned, was a beautiful thing. It was something I didn't make it, but I heard that. I thought that was the greatest thing because people like you have abused our people so badly. The fake news like CNN, like the New York Times, and like others have abused our people. Wait a minute, be quiet. Have abused our people so badly, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You used to be a conservative. She was a conservative from Alabama, can you believe it? But CNN, in particular, CNN does such false reporting. But now they have new ownership, so maybe it'll straighten it out. I doubt it, but it's hard to straighten garbage out. But CNN has abused, and others have abused so badly. People, these are people that are great people that were destroyed. Their families have been destroyed. Many suicides. They committed suicide. People that went there with love. They went there with love. You know, when I made that speech early in the day, tremendous crowd. I hate to say, because they'll say, oh, I was wrong on the number, but I believe it's the largest crowd I've ever spoken to by twice. The biggest crowd, I think, bigger than the inaugurations, bigger than anything. And there was so much love and friendship. It was the most amazing thing. People were crying. They were like, wait a minute, let me finish. And those people have been abused by you and by others and by the politicians, by the Democrats. They're dumb people. They want to have open borders. They want to have transgender mutilization of your children. They want to have men playing in women's sports. They want to have high taxes. They turned down, you know, they fought us on the tax bill, and they fought us because they want people to pay high taxes because they're crazy. There's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with you. It's a shame. Yeah, go ahead,
Mr.
Liz.
President, thank you so much. On communism, today has some stern words on communism.
I just wrote that. Did you like it? Did you think it was well written?
Well, it's certainly very meaningful to Americans.
Well, I'd read it. Do you want to read it? Do you have it? You could read it. It's on Truth. I just wrote it. I just felt I've seen what's going on with communism, and I see this country. Read it. I'd love to have you think it.
You wrote that quote, communists always do well with the voters, or as they would say, the people, in the early years. But in the end, the country, state, or city goes to hell. Great violence proceeds at levels never seen before, and the entity dissolves into poverty, squalor, and crime. Remember, breathtaking popularity first, and then guaranteed death and destruction.
Well, you see it happening with New York. You see it happening with Los Angeles and parts of California. And it's so easy, you know. I'd be the greatest in the world. Nobody would be as good as me. I'd get away everything. I could be the greatest. I would sell them. You're going to get free rent. You're going to get free houses. You're going to get free food. You're going to get free everything. But eventually that ends. And it leads to death, destruction, and squalor. 100% of the time. When I watched New York, and you know, I liked him very much. He stood right here, and he's been into the office a couple of times. The mayor of New York. I think he's a very nice person, and I don't know, he's a smart guy. I don't understand why he thinks it's okay for all these companies that pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes a year to leave. Because you're not going to have any tax base, and you're going to end up in hunger and squalor and death and destruction. I would be better than him if I wanted to go that route. Ladies and gentlemen, you no longer pay rent. You no longer have to pay interest on your mortgage. In fact, I'll end your mortgage. I'm going to cut everything. You're no longer going to have to pay for food. I'm going to give you a grocery store, and I'm going to give you free food. You're no longer going to have, you're going to have the greatest life ever. Follow me, you're going to have the greatest life. And you know what? For a couple of years, that's such a powerful, I would be the best ever at giving it. Nobody would ever be. I had to sell free enterprise. Free enterprise is tougher to sell, but that's what's made our country great. And that's why it's great again now. If I didn't get elected, we wouldn't have a country. We really wouldn't have a country. This country would be finished. But I see what's happening in Los Angeles. I see what's happening in New York, where I look at Chicago. You have a stupid governor, a dumb governor. A really dumb guy. I know him well. He's a failure in his family, Pritzker. I know the family. I was partners in a deal with them. I made a lot of money. They made money. We made a good partnership. But he was like an outcast in the family. He was a slob. And the mayor is a low IQ person. I mean, he's a stupid person. Chicago has a case, you have a real chance to become great again. There's a case, great again. If we were allowed to do what we did in Washington or Memphis. You know, I was with the governor of Tennessee yesterday, and he said, I want to come in. He came in to thank me. I said, for what? He said, what you did for Memphis. Memphis, the crime is down about 72%. He said it's like a different city. Washington is even more so. We started a little bit earlier. Washington, you walk down the streets and people feel safe here again. It's a safe city. If I were, oh, by the way, in Louisiana, what I've done there is unbelievable. Because the governor, Jeff Landry, called. He said, you got to help me with New Orleans. We have a tremendous crime problem. And I sent in our really talented people, including National Guardsmen, and they did an unbelievable. They had the safest, they said they had the safest, it just ended about 3 weeks ago. They had the safest Mardi Gras they've ever had. I could do that in Chicago, but you have to have the support of a governor. You can't have a slob that says, you know, we don't want it. People get murdered, and he says it's fine. They lost 5 or 6 people last week, and they said, it's fine. They're not going to lose 5 or 6 people. And I would make Chicago so good and so safe. It's got potential. The longer it goes, the harder it is to fix. And San Francisco, we could do such a good job. My friend said, please let the mayor, he's a liberal guy, nice guy, I talked to him. He wants to make San Francisco good, and he's trying very hard. I said, look, I can do it much faster than you. Please let me have a time. I mean, I spoke to the mayor, and some very important people asked me to give him a chance because they'd like to see if he could do it. And he's doing okay, but I could do it much faster, much better. And we can remove, don't forget, 2% of your people create 90% of your crime. That's a great number because 2% of the people you can take care of. If it was 90% of the people, that's no good. But 2%. In Washington, right here in D.C., we removed close to 5,000 hard-line criminals. Many came in through the Biden open border. We removed them from Washington, D.C., and it's one of the reasons that we're so safe now. We have a great, beautiful place. Again, the fountains are almost all open. You're going to have the reflecting pool opened within hours. I mean, literally within hours. The water starts pouring in tonight. It's going to be beautiful. You haven't seen that since 1922. Think of that. 1922. It hasn't worked. Never worked. From the day they built it, it never worked. But you're going to see that. And people are all thanking me because Washington's beautiful again. The parks are open. We changed the grass. You know, grass has a life also. Like people, grass has a life. And that grass hasn't been changed in 70, 80 years. It died many times over. We have beautiful grass, beautiful parks, beautiful everything. We don't have people living on it. And Washington, D.C., in a matter of 14 months, Washington, D.C. is like a different place. People are coming here. You know, the restaurants were all going out of business, as you know, because you use the restaurants. And now the restaurants are hot. In fact, if anything, we don't have enough restaurant space. They're all reopening. It's become vibrant. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and I am honored that I've been able to do it to our nation's capital. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
And you were just watching President Trump in the Oval Office signing executive orders, including one aimed at applying America First principles to international trade. And this is the goal, and it's to protect American businesses and industries from foreign competitors who are exploiting import and as well as export rules, such as tariffs and trade practices, and doing this to gain unfair advantages. And the president also answering questions on Iran. One point he said that on nuclear dust or enriched uranium, there has been agreement that the U.S. and Iran will work together to bring that out to the United States side, and then the U.S. will destroy it. Okay, let's go to a break now. The Trump administration challenges a court ruling that could require up to $166 billion in tariff refunds to businesses across the country. Stay tuned for more in just a quick moment.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Shenyun Creations.
the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Seymour, and I spent years on TV playing a doctor. But I learned about the heartbreaking reality of heart disease and stroke when they touched my own life. My father nearly died before having a quadruple bypass and valve replacement that saved him. And my mom, who was my inspiration, suffered a stroke that took away her speech, her ability to move, and ultimately her life. To see someone so vibrant, so positive, who'd survived so much in life, be debilitated by a stroke, it was devastating. And also a wake-up call. And that's why I'm so passionate about supporting the American Heart Association. They're doing more every day to stop needless deaths. But they simply can't do their life-saving work without you. So please, call now or go to helpheart.org. And for only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, your donation will go to work to do amazing things. Like fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I hope that you'll open your heart right now and join me. Please, call now or go to helpheart.org. Give $19 a month, and we'll send you this special T-shirt that you can proudly wear to show that you're part of a community of monthly donors who are helping save lives. A healthy heart, it's the spirit of life. It makes it possible to do the things that you love, to spend time with your friends and family and fulfill your life's dreams. But so many won't have that chance. Heart disease is America's #1 killer and the #1 killer of women. And that's why I'll do whatever I can to make sure others don't die from heart disease before their time. So please join me.
Please call or go online to helpheart.org, become a monthly donor, and for a limited time only, your first month's gift will be matched.
Senate Republicans unveiled a revised reconciliation bill that strips up to $1 billion from the White House ballroom. GOP senators had agreed to the move before the Memorial Day recess, but the revised reconciliation package makes the decision final. The Senate Judiciary Committee released the updated text. The $1 billion had been earmarked for proposed security upgrades to the ballroom. President Trump had pressed Republican senators to authorize the spending after an assassination attempt on his life at the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner. The Justice Department has announced an initiative to fight crime in American cities. The DOJ is saying it will provide $300 million in grants. According to the department, the Model Cities initiative is the next step in the Trump administration's Make America Safe Again agenda. The DOJ says the funding will go to cities that are serious about reducing violent crime, restoring law and order, and modernizing public safety infrastructure. The announcement of the initiative, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said, quote, "The Model Cities initiatives will supercharge our law enforcement partners and restore the rule of law to America's neighborhoods, towns, and cities." Blanche added, quote, "Our message is clear. We will help those who help us make America safe again." 2 to 4 cities with a population of 100,000 or more are eligible. President Trump says he believes Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could become the permanent head of the Justice Department. The president praised Blanche as a very talented guy and said he is doing a very good job at the DOJ. President Trump was asked directly whether Blanche would be the next Attorney General. He responded, quote, "I think he will." He also said he's satisfied with the pace of work at the Justice Department. He also praised Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, calling him very good. He said he has not ruled him out for the Attorney General role, noting there are a lot of great people in the Republican Party. President Trump is also weighing in on the 2028 presidential election. He says Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be very hard to beat if they ran together. The president says he has watched them together and they are great. Both Vance and Rubio are seen as potential contenders for the 2028 Republican nomination, though neither has formally entered the race and both have downplayed talk of a run. Rubio's recent appearances at White House briefings have drawn attention from both Republicans and some Democrats, with some praising his performance. The Trump administration is appealing a court order mandating refunds to companies impacted by the president's tariffs. Customs and Border Protection estimates the government owes affected businesses $166 billion. The appeal comes after the Supreme Court ruled President Trump lacked the authority to impose tariffs under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act. CBP said applications for refunds totaling $85 billion had been accepted for processing as of May 22nd. So far, the agency has directed the Treasury Department to issue $20.6 billion in refunds. An estimated 330,000 importers could be eligible. The U.S. is proposing new tariffs on imports from 60 economies over what it says is a failure to block goods made with forced labor. Here's what we know so far.
The Trump administration has proposed placing more duties on imports from 60 economies. It cited failures to curb trade in goods made with forced labor, which it called unreasonable, and argued it restricted U.S. commerce. The duties would reach up to 10% or 12.5%. The proposals by the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, or USTR, is the latest finding from a Section 301 unfair trade practices investigation. The USTR said it would impose 10% duties on imports from major economies, including the EU, Taiwan and Britain, plus neighbours like Mexico and Canada. The trade agency also said it would impose additional duties of 12.5% on the other 45 countries it investigated. The US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said the failure to address the importation of goods made with forced labor is unacceptable. He added it meant American workers were forced to compete globally on an unlevel playing field. The announcement comes ahead of the July 24th expiration of a 10% temporary tariff imposed by the Trump administration in February. The USTR further said it would exempt a number of products from the tariffs. Those included energy, rare earths and certain other metals, beef, coffee, pharmaceuticals, aircraft parts and other selected items. The USTR said it would accept public comments on the proposed tariffs and other remedies through July 6th.
California Republican Assemblyman James Gallagher won a special election to serve the remainder of late Congressman Doug LaMalfa's House term. The far northern California 1st Congressional District voted for Gallagher, who won well above the 50% of votes needed to avoid an August runoff. LaMalfa had represented the Safe American District since 2013. He died on January 6th of this year from a heart attack following an aortic dissection at the age of 65. Gallagher has represented the rural region north of Sacramento in the state assembly since 2014. Today, the Senate Help Committee held a critical hearing called Protecting Children from Irreversible Gender Transition Procedures, with growing concerns over the sharp rise in medical interventions on minors. The spotlight was on detransitioners and medical experts warning about the dangers. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us now. Jack, tell us more about this.
Sure. Well, this hearing brought forward some really powerful testimony exposing how children are being rushed into life-altering puberty blockers and surgeries, often with devastating and irreversible consequences. Chloe Cole, a 21-year-old detransitioner from California, shared her story about how she was influenced by social media at a very young age to think that she may have been a boy trapped in a girl's body. She then began taking hormone and puberty-blocking medicine at age 12. And then had a double mastectomy when she was 15. By 16, she regretted it, and the procedure and the blockers she took had some the alterations that were just irreversible. Take a look.
The entire premise of transgenderism is that I will take my own life if I don't transition. Yet here I am today. I'm not alone. I have hundreds of friends who have been through the same thing. An entire generation of children were lied to. There is no such thing as a child being born in the wrong body, but there are physicians and medical bodies who prey on the confusion of perfectly healthy young boys and girls.
And do you believe that you were fully informed of all of those consequences?
I was not fully informed of all of them. In fact, most of the complications that I experienced to this day, from the joint pains, to the pelvic pains, to the PCOS-like symptoms, to my near lack of menses, and these other unexplained complications I've had over the years. Most of them I had no idea were going to happen to me until they did.
Now, this hearing was brought by the chairman, the Republican of the committee, but the Democrats in the committee, including Ranking Member Senator Bernie Sanders, dismissed this hearing as a waste of time and politically charged ahead of the midterms. They completely avoided questioning Chloe Cole or the other medical doctor on the panel from the Do No Harm. And instead, they brought their own witness, a lawyer who argued against government intervention in healthcare. But Chloe Cole emphasized that this is the government's role to protect children. And she warned that she was never properly warned about the permanent effects of these drugs and surgery that she underwent. On his first day back in office, President Trump signed an executive order restricting federal funds to these kinds of gender-altering procedures. More than 24 states have already followed suit and banned these irreversible interventions for minors. Don?
Okay, Jack, thank you for bringing this to our attention. ICE protests were still in the spotlight during Department of Homeland Security Markwayne Mullin's second day on Capitol Hill. Mullin also addressed the problem of doxing federal officers. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
I'm okay with protest. Sure. You have the right for the First Amendment, but you do it in a peaceful way in a legal area.
ICE protests were still one of the big topics on Capitol Hill for Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin's second day of testifying. The ongoing issue of doxing was brought up by Congressman August Fuller.
The entire country saw a person threaten one of your agents. Your agents recommended that we work on enhancing the penalties for doxing, for intimidating, for threatening federal agents.
They're very sophisticated. These aren't just peaceful rioters or peaceful protesters out there. They're well funded and they have technology, and we see it immediately. When we have officers that are out there that don't have a mask on, they get doxxed and their family starts getting attacked on social media. They start getting attacked at their schools.
Several Democrat members asked Mullin about allegations of poor conditions inside the Delaney Hall ICE facility in Newark, New Jersey.
Detainees at Delaney Hall Detention Facility have been living in squalid conditions and have been beaten and pepper sprayed by guards.
It is a stain on New Jersey and on our country. Detainees are being given moldy bread and lunch meat.
We have 2 times as much more space than they do in the state penitentiaries in New Jersey. We have 2 times the medical personnel. You're 2 times more likely to die in New Jersey state facilities than you are in Delaney.
Congressman Brad Knott raised concerns over some of the actions seen by some of the protesters outside of the Delaney Hall facility.
If anything, sir, I would submit that we're being too tolerant to the rioters who obstruct law enforcement from carrying out their duties.
I have zero tolerance. If you verbally assault our officers, you go after our vehicles, you assault our property, you assault one of our officers, we will find you, we will arrest you.
In regards to the upcoming World Cup and Olympic Games being hosted in the U.S., Secretary Mullin says the DHS's biggest priorities are advancing its drone defense programs as well as getting good coordination with local law enforcement. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
The spirit of the NBA Finals is alive in New York City. Tonight is Game 1 of the Knicks versus the Spurs. Game 1 is in San Antonio, but in the city, it's Go Knicks as apparel stores are having record sales. NTD's Sean Marshall has more.
It's midday in Midtown Manhattan, and the outdoor watch party is being set up for the Knicks versus Spurs NBA Finals Game 1 at Madison Square Garden. And people from all over New York City are in Midtown Manhattan on the hunt for official Knicks gear. Inside the arena, the Madison Square Garden memorabilia store has a long line, and the Fifth Avenue NBA and Lids store can just barely keep up with the high numbers of customers looking for NBA Finals items.
You know, the city's on fire right now. The buzz about the Knicks, the traffic in our NBA store, as you can see behind me, all-time record traffic and sales for us here at the NBA store. Just the amount of support New York and all of the boroughs have for the Knicks has been amazing.
The store's packed with customers on every level. The whole building is buzzing with NBA Finals energy.
Well, it's all about Knicks in 6 right now is what they're saying. But just looking forward to a great series. You know, next week we have 2 home games, but the series starts tonight on Wednesday. We're just so excited about all the fans being here. It's such a positive environment. Everybody's having a blast, and we're providing all of the apparel and headwear for all of the Knicks fans in all of the boroughs and everybody coming in from out of town.
And New York City would never forget the children. On Monday, Mayor Zoran Mamdani signed a mock executive order allowing children in the city to stay up late to watch the 2026 NBA Finals. Mamdani invited children to leave their handprints on the document and led chants in support of the New York Knicks.
Let's go Knicks! Let's go Knicks! Let's go! Here is our mayor's order, repealing kids' bedtimes for the Knicks Finals run. Are we ready? Who here was alive in 1999? No, you were not. You were?
The San Antonio Spurs host the Knicks in Game 1 of the Finals on Wednesday night. The Knicks are playing in the Finals for the first time since 1999. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
A French art museum is not amused that somebody stole a banana from its famous exhibit. Maurizio Catalan's work entitled Comedian requires a fresh banana to be duct taped to the wall periodically. Several times since it was unveiled in Florida back in 2019, people have ripped the banana off the wall and eaten it. In 2024, Chinese collector Justin Sun did the same thing after paying more than $6 million for the work. But the museum in Metz is unhappy about the latest incident enough to file a legal complaint. It also issued a statement during visitors. The perishable component of the work has been replaced, or put another way, a new banana was taped to the wall. NASA is preparing for some very significant test flights for its new aircraft, faster than the speed of sound. NASA's X-59 research aircraft is designed to fly at supersonic speeds without producing a loud sonic boom. This month, the X-59 will fly supersonic in test flights at around 43,000 feet altitude. That will be followed by a mission conditions flight at Mach 1.4 speed and an altitude of roughly 55,000 feet. NASA's goal is to have the aircraft fly over U.S. communities to gather data from the public about its quiet, supersonic operation. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. We're taking a short break, but we'll be back with more. I'm Don Ma. Remember to watch NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.